show. I had a couple weeks break, and I got a new co-host with me, Darrick, my buddy Darrick Valentine. I've coached him for a long time, but we've been buddies just as long. But he's been in this bodybuilding industry just about as long as I have. How you feeling today, Darrick?
Hey, man, I feel great, man. You beat my ass, man, with all this prep you got me.
Well, you're coming back out of retirement. You're coming out of retirement after a couple of years, man. You and I are like in the 50-plus club. So, so we got some shit to prove sometimes.
Yes, I heard all the time, man.
But normally I have my buddy Zach Anderson with me, but he's been MIA for the last 4, 5, 6 weeks. Unfortunately, nobody. I mean, he kind of like. I feel compelled to explain this to my listeners. I love the man. He's awesome. He's just having going through a rough patch, and I think he's one of those kind of people that I guess when he was having a hard time, he just took off. Just went with one of his buddies or his cousin in Colorado, and he's been sort of hanging out with some friends and stuff like that. I don't know exactly what he's been doing because he's been sort of MIA. He's had a lot of hard stuff that he was facing, and I think this is the way I don't know. He's a great dude. I love him to death, and I've just extended myself out to him. But I hope he makes it back. I really do because I like him on the show. But the show must go on, and so it's going to go on. So I got my buddy Darrick here with me. And we both do have beards, so that's good. Even though your beard's a little lacking, bro. What's going on, man?
Dude, look, you know how when you try to trim your own beard, and you think one side's even and the other side's uneven, and you're trying to balance it out, and then eventually you just mess it up. So then I had to take it down. And I'm gonna let the.
I was gonna say, man, that's like a week. That's like a week or so, like a week, 2 week. That's like a 2 week beard.
2 weeks top, man. I have a full beard, man. To be like
you're like me.
Cake, man, here.
Shit, I start looking like Grizzly Adams, man. Right now I'm looking a little scruffy. But I like to keep this point thing. Somebody asked me, why do you like that? I said, because I like the angles that makes my face. If I just grew this normal, I think I would look like a fucking bear, like a grizzly bear or something, or I don't know, a fucking terrorist. One of the two, I don't know. I got hair that goes out of every. The funny thing is, I shaved the rest of my body, and I grew the beard at the beginning of COVID. I said when COVID hit in March, and we locked down, I said, fuck yeah, not gonna shave. Fuck this shit, I'm not gonna shave. So I didn't shave. I haven't shaved since. And literally, man, like it grew. My beard grows fast, but it grew. Like last time I grew my beard, like a year or two ago, there wasn't as many gray hairs. Now there's a little more gray hairs. But I do trim it. I do trim it tighter here. I'm trying to find new ways to do it without causing me 15 minutes of trimming in the morning. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, that's too much maintenance, dude. Like, look, I just want to I'm gonna find a barber that can line me up perfectly, man, because I can't get the geometry correct, man. So that's why I've grown a full beard and shaved it off 3 times in the last year.
Oh,
so
really?
yeah, I let it grow full, trim it down,
and you're like, I fucked it up. Hey, that's how I. So for the longest time, I had a clean shave face. Everybody who knew me in the industry and in school, like college and grad school, I had a clean shave face, and it was that way for literally decades. And then I started growing goatees and stuff later on. And it wasn't really until I was in my 40s that I really did it on a more consistent basis. But here's the reason why I went clean shaved. When I think I was about 20. I had that, that fucking Rico Suave, fucking trim, thin mustache, shit.
Right.
Like that was just because and I had the high and tight, flat top with long hair in the back with, like all that, the whole shit that was going on in like 89, 90, right?
Right.
And I remember I'm getting ready to go out somewhere and I'm fucking shaving, right? And I'm trimming this fucking thing and I'm like, just fucking shave half that shit off in a second. I was like, fuck! I was like, oh my God! I was like, oh shit! And I'm like, well, fuck it, gotta go all in now. So I shaved it up. I was like, fuck it. It just totally turned me off. I was just like, nope, not gonna do this again for a while. So it literally took me probably 10 years before I grew another goatee, and I was at my ex-wife's request. She said, yeah. I said, do you think I look good in goatee? She's like, yeah, that's something different. And it kind of turned me on. I was like, you want something different? All right. I was like, yeah. All right. So I grew the goatee. I grew this goatee when I was in graduate school, right? And I would go to the gym, and I was like 272 pounds at the time. I was big. And I remember people were fucking afraid of me. all this dark. I had a lot more hair than I have now. Like, yeah, the ages definitely changed me.
Right.
I had all this dark hair, and I had all this. And I remember I would shave. I only just shaved this. I just let this stuff just grow, right? And I guess it occurred to me one time I was on the stationary bike. I was doing some car. I was getting ready for the Maryland State Championships, which, by the way, I got second at. And this dude comes right next to me. He's a big dude, and he says, "Hey, man, can I ask you a question?" And I'd seen him in there before in the gym. He's like, I said, "Yeah, sure." And he asked me some question about diet or something, so I answered him and I helped him out. And he's like, "Wow, man, you're really nice." He's like, "Man, I've been afraid to come up and talk to you for like months." He's like, "You're so intimidating when you come in here." I figured it was the beard. It was how big I was. It was the beard. I would put my headset on when I got in the gym. I just fucking started to go after it, right? Like, I didn't want to talk to nobody. I just wanted to just work out. So he just thought. So I started to. So I thought maybe I got to shave. So I shaved it up, and I didn't grow my goatee back until probably 4-5 years ago. You know, like on a serious basis. If I did, I grew for maybe a week or two because I could grow this motherfucker in a week. Like, this stuff easy. I can grow. So, but shit ain't growing up here that fast. I'll tell you that much.
Hey man, hey, when you get ready to join the club, man, let me know. I'll get you your membership card.
Hey,
somebody told me years ago. I think it was a girlfriend somebody I was dating. She said, "I bet you would look good. I bet you would look good with a bald head and a beard and 2 earrings." I'm like, "You think?" Okay. So I shaved the hair off. I noticed I had a nice shaved head, and then I noticed, okay, so I got the other earring in my ear. But I noticed when I tried to let it grow back, this part right here wouldn't grow anymore. So I was like, you know what? I'm
committed.
I'm depressed now. You know what I mean? Things you do for women, dude. I mean, seriously,
dude. Like,
I was like, dude,
was she your girlfriend?
Bald, man. I think I've been bald, man, for 20 years now. I've been shaving my head for like 20 years.
So that's what I was afraid of. I said, because I asked my girlfriend when I was in Chicago. I said, "Hey, I said, man, if I lose any more hair, I'm just gonna fucking shave this motherfucker." She's like, "No, don't shave it. You have a lot of hair. You have enough to have." I was like, "No." But what I said, I always wanted to see if I would look good if I was bald. But I kind of think that I might not look so good because you got this really nice shaped head. Like, my head looks like a fucking mongoloid, man. I look like, I think I got a big noggin, man. I just got, I look like one of the, like E.T., like how to. And I used to joke with people when I was in college. I said, the reason why I have to get so big is to make sure that my body fits my fucking head. But now I just tell people, I tell my daughter, yeah, the reason why I got a big head is because I got lots of brains.
That's right, you got a lot of wisdom and knowledge.
I got a lot of brains trapped up in there. So welcome to the podcast, man. I'm glad to have you on here, and I'm glad to have you on a recurring basis. Because to me, this stuff is fun.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me, man.
My pleasure, man. Just so people don't know, who may not have followed you in your competitive career, you competed for a while, and you used to work out in the '90s. You were training with guys like Flex Wheeler and all these guys in LA, right?
Yeah. So back in the day, man, back in my 20s, dude. You know how when you're in your 20s, you trying to bodybuild, dude. You're like all over the place. I mean, you pretty much bodybuild just for chicks, just for women. I mean, that's right. So, but then you realize, you're pretty good at it, man. So I had the opportunity a few times.
Well, you are.
Out there, and train with Charles and a few other people, man. And I mean, it's always a learning experience. I mean, you come across people, along the road of the journey of bodybuilding, and you accumulate a lot of good friends. Look, I've been knowing you, man, for like 11 years now, man. So
isn't that crazy to think?
Right, that's a long time ago, right? But bodybuilding's one of those journeys, dude. Like I always equated to like that journey, like the opening credits of Kung Fu. Remember the TV series Kung Fu?
Fuck yeah, I watched that shit. I grew up watching that shit. I loved it.
Hey, man,
try to snatch the pebble from my hand.
Say what?
He said, try to snatch the pebble from my hand.
Right. So think about bodybuilding, man. Bodybuilding's like you go on this long journey, man, this long trek, man, and you don't know where you're actually going to land in the sport. You don't know what you're actually going to do, man. So, like I said, years ago, man, I've come across a lot of great guys, man, that gave me some wisdom and knowledge about the sport. And like you're like one of them, dude, like one of my guys, man, that kind of like, what I was going through, all the shit I was going through when you first met me, man, and trying to compete at the same time, man. You were like my savior back then, dude. For real.
I have had the really wonderful honor of being able to be a friend to so many wonderful people that I've coached. And I'm really proud to have the job that I have because I get to really collect family. I really get to collect, because that's what I consider. I consider people like you and other people just family. Like they're just, I get to like work with my friends and my family. Like I get to do that. That's, and I was talking with my daughter, and she says to me, we were talking about career. It was just last night. I think she was calling me. We were talking about some of her tests that she was taking, because all the kids right now, she's 11, they're taking those PSA tests or whatever the fuck they are.
Yeah.
And so she did really well, and she's getting all A's. I said, but I don't care about the grade. Even though I celebrate it when I don't care. I want her to just do the best that she can. If it's an A, it's an A. If it's not, it's not.
Right.
Right. But we were talking about careers, and and I don't know why we got this. She's like, Dad, my friend and I were talking, and she said, I don't think it's a wise idea for anyone to do something they don't like. And I said, that's pretty astute of you, sweetheart. I said, but most people in this world, they work the job that they have, generally speaking, and it's not their fault. It is their fault, but it's not. They're not doing it maliciously. They have to do their job. They do it because they have to. They don't do it because they want to. They do it because they have to. Because they have to pay bills. They have to keep a mortgage. They got to support their families and all these things. And that's because they have to. So, but Daddy, I get to do what I want to do. And I just happen to architect my life to do a job because I want to do that job. I could say that I have to do it because I do have to pay my bills. I do have to make my mortgage. But I don't speak about it like that because I want to focus on the enjoyment that I get from the job and not the importance of having to do the job. Even though I know it's important, I don't want to have to think that's the only thing the end and all means. No, the end and all means for me is the joy that's created from the work, my effort, my labor every day. That's what I want. The joy, the love, the connection with others. Those are things that I really value. Right. It just so happens that I have to do it too, but I really want to do it. And she was like, well, I just think I want to have a job. I only want to have a job that I really love and that I want to get up and do every morning. And I said, I said the same thing to myself when I was about your age. I said, so you're in pretty good company. I said, I'm so glad that she came to this conclusion, because so many people, they choose their job, they choose the things they want to seek based on the reward that they get. Right? And that's appropriate. But she's selected the reward of personal fulfillment. She wants to be happy with the job, and not just because she didn't speak 1 ounce about money. That made me feel good, because I'm like, I wanted to make money, but I figure making money is a consequence of doing what you really love. If you're working a job and you're working something, in this job that I have, if I want to make more money, I just work harder. Right. I just work harder. I put myself out there more. I talk to more people. I do more stuff, and I get more, and I make more money. When I don't. Easy. Right. So
you still get the enjoyment out of it, though, no matter what.
No matter what.
Monetarily comes in, that's like, especially how profound that's coming from a 12-year-old.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because back once think about when we were 12 years old, dude, I wanted to be a bodybuilder. Just honestly, my mom asked me, I want to look like this. I really saw, about that's the joy I've gotten from the sport, because I'm doing something I enjoy doing, now, and then like I said, I get to see awesome people.
Now tell everybody what you have, like 2 jobs, right? You have you work a normal job, and you also have a fitness job. You do some stuff with.
Yeah. So I'm a manager for a bank, and I also have a website. It's called Kick Your Mass. The reason why I came up with Kick Your Mass is because there's a lot of fitness and bodybuilding things like clothing and apparel, things like that. And I just wanted to give my spin on it. But I think you should always have more than one iron in the fire, man. And again, think about it. When you're a bodybuilder, you got to parlay this into you got to do personal training. You got to do all kind of shit, man.
Yeah, nobody gave me a contract when I was bodybuilding, when I was competing.
Right. You gotta eat, man. So you become personal trainer, you become a coach, you all kind of stuff, man. So I think the bodybuilding journey leads you down the road of a whole bunch of things, opportunities. I would say opportunities.
I would agree. I'd say that it's like bodybuilding sort of forces people. If you really want to make this your life, it forces you to become an entrepreneur. It just forces you to do it, because the sport is not like golf, where the 100th ranked golfer in the world is still getting paid 6 figures. I know, because I look at this stuff, and he's and it's like, that's just his prize money. That's not endorsements or anything else. That's just the fucking prize money he's getting. As if he's playing professional golf, they rank them all and they show their prize winning money for the year, and they're all still making, like, even on the lower end of the totem pole, they're still making like very good money. Right. Easily support yourself and a family with doing that. Bodybuilding's not really like that. You have to really be creative. You have to really be an entrepreneur, I think. And I think I was built for that. I mean, I was naturally wanting to be an entrepreneur when I was a kid. I was fucking having little carnivals in my front yard and shit. And I was trying to find ways to make, I'm no joke, man, trying to find ways to make money because I needed to buy stuff. Like, it was all built out of necessity. It was like, my mother was poor. We were very poor. We didn't grow up with a lot of money. So all the money that I got for my brother and I played Dungeons and Dragons and role playing games. None of that shit my mother bought. I had to buy that shit myself. She didn't buy me my protein powders, my supplements. No. I had to buy that shit. So she bought the basics, right? Like the staple foods, kept which was good. And she said, if you want something different, Dad, you're gonna have to go buy it yourself. You have to get a job, buy it yourself. So I did. I fucking did, man. I was out there drawing pictures, going door to door, fucking selling my pictures.
Wow.
Dude, anything, man. Anything I could think of, bro. Walking dogs and mowing lawns, washing cars, man. Whatever I could do, man. It was like, every weekend it was always like, I remember I got to be about 13. And every 11, 12, 13, around those ages, every weekend I was like, okay, what are we going to do? I would be with my brother. What are we going to do this weekend to make some money, bro? Like, we need about $5 because we wanted to have some candy so we could watch like Incredible Hulk and like have some fucking candy and shit. Like that was the thing. Small goals, man. Small goals. Right. So now this week you and I earlier were talking, and I wanted to bring this topic up. We were talking about racism in this country, especially after what was going on this last week with, and I don't know all the details of but I mean, I know that they registered a verdict for this. I don't even know the guy's name.
Derek Chauvin. Yeah,
Derek Chauvin. Kind of a. He in all the pictures I see of him. Now this is just a side comment. He doesn't look remorseful.
He doesn't look what?
He doesn't look remorseful.
You know what? Honestly, though, dude, when you look at his face, man, I think that. It was a face. His face was surprised. You know what I mean? Like
what did he think was going to happen?
In his mind, he didn't think that it was going to go the way it did.
So here's my question. My question is this: if he wasn't a police officer and somebody filmed this, and somebody accidentally died from getting into a little wrestling match like this, would we feel the same way?
I think you would, we're like everybody's under. Think about it like this, man. We're all under constant surveillance. There's cameras everywhere. Everybody has cameras on the phone. Everybody can film things, and I think that
you don't think the government watches people.
I think society. Think about it. Somebody. I heard a snippet of a news clip, and someone said something about, the mob rule. And we talked about, talking about the mob rule. And
absolutely.
So society acts as a mob. So if society feels so strongly about one thing, he probably could have been convicted if he wasn't a police officer based on just how society viewed that,
He probably still would have been convicted because, and rightfully so, because if you kill somebody, you kill somebody. You should know better.
Right.
I have a friend who I train with, and she was in law enforcement, and she's not anymore. She's got a law degree. She does a whole bunch of other things, but several years ago, she was in law enforcement. I think for about 10 years. I can't remember how many years, but here in Phoenix. And she worked in the child unit where she was looking at so she worked in a very special unit where she was working with child molesters and hunting those people down. And she said the stuff you see is you don't want to see it. And so she stopped doing that. She just left the force after a couple of years because she couldn't handle that anymore. But we were talking about this case, and I said, "What do you think?" She said, "Well, Dad," and she said, "Well, it's bullshit." She said, "This, she felt that you should be able to tell. She's like, you don't put your full weight." She said, "I watched that videotape." She said, "You don't put your full weight down on somebody's neck like that, especially knowing that they can't breathe, knowing that could cause real problems." She said, "You just don't do that." She said, "I don't know if he tried to do it on purpose, but she said she felt that he certainly didn't care enough. He didn't take the proper precautions. He just did what he was. She said, she felt more sorry for the one rookie that's going to be tried next. There have two other guys that were there. One of them was a rookie. And she said, I know what it feels like to be a rookie. And this guy's going to go out there and he's going to get hammered like the other two because he was there and he was supporting them. And when he was it may have been one of his first calls like this. And he didn't know, he was just following what the seniors were doing. So I was like, so she said, I felt most sorry for him because he probably he may or may not have had done something like that. And I thought, well, I think there's two things going on here. One, and she agreed with me. One, we're not training police officers very well. And two, the psychological examinations have gone way down. We don't do it. She said what she had to take to get in, like 20 years ago, 15 years ago, was a lot more stringent than today. She said today they relaxed all those things so they can get more police officers on the force. But what it causes is people to be really trigger happy, or they don't have the same skills, emotional skills. So she said, look, like that one lady who shot that person just like last week, and when it was a police officer, she just drew her gun. There was a video of it, and you could see it in her own cam, and she just shoots this person, this young girl. Kills her right away. But she, I don't know what the whole scenario was going on behind it, but, and she said, I thought I was grabbing my taser and I grabbed my gun.
You're talking about the one, so that was 10 miles away from where Derek Chauvin's trial was going on.
Yeah, exactly. It was in the same fucking place.
That was it was a guy, it was a young guy it was a young black guy that she shot.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so you think about it, she was a field trainer.
Yeah, well, this is what my friend was saying. She said she knows that case. She's like, this person for 20 years has been training people in the field, and she said I know what happened. She got scared. She got scared and she grabbed her gun and she said but they tried to lie about it, and she thinks they're lying about it. I think they're lying about it too. She said because as a field trainer, she said I know she said I was in the field. You have a taser and you have a gun. They're on opposite sides. She says you have to unsnap your gun, and as soon as you unsnap it, you got to pull it. And you got to use it. So that's part of the deal. And they train you to do this. And she said so. It's a very different. In order to be able to pull your taser, she said you got to know. You know it is your taser because you have to unclip your gun. So she had to unclip that gun and she had to pull it out and she had to use it. Too many steps to think. Oh, I just did that on accident. Right? Like I thought I was getting my taser. Like, okay, that doesn't make any sense. So to me, it sounds like we're training our police officers incorrectly. And she felt this the same way that they're not trained to be compassionate. We get these people in there who have these fucking, it's the kids who get the sand kicked in their faces as in high school, who want to grow up and they want to be fucking police officers. So they got a little bit of control, a little bit of power behind them, and they go and get this job and they use it like this. And I think some of these stories are probably some of these kinds of people. Now, I'm not going to try to say they're all like that. I mean, I think we have some deep systemic problems with how we profile and how we look at this stuff. And I don't think it's right. I think we need to go over there. If I were like a police chief here in Phoenix, I would go to fucking the UK and I would hang out there for 3 months and I would learn how they do it, because you don't hear stories like that over there. They don't even carry guns. Most of the police officers. They carry like billy clubs and tasers. That's it.
They get physical. They're like that. The one thing I think that's amazing sometimes is that you know my take on it. And I think we discussed this before. I'd say if you're going to be a rookie cop, you want to be a cop, you got to go into a room with a guy named Bubba, that's 6'6", 300 pounds, and you can't go in there with anything. You got to be able to put your hands up. And if you come out, you win. If you lose, you lose. But then you know what? You can become a cop. But if you shit the bed and you stand there and you're shaking and quivering because you're scared, because you got to realize, man, most people have never fought anybody. No one's ever had any confrontation. But then all of a sudden you become a cop.
I read a alarming. I don't know if it's alarming or if it's good, but I read a statistic recently that said like 84 or 85% of the people that you'll ever meet have never been in a physical altercation.
Never been in a physical fight. So think about it. So think about it like this. You play the game with percentages. If you got that many people who've never been in a confrontation, not even having a loud argument with anybody, and then you want to become a cop. I know you have noble intent behind becoming a cop because you want to protect and serve, but when incidences like this happen,
if you're not used to that shit,
who are you protecting and serving? I mean, when someone dies, like you hear about the police shooting in Columbus, Ohio, with the 16-year-old girl that got shot.
That's yeah.
You know, I looked at that whole video, and the girl did have a knife in her hand. But once again, you know, hey man, you ever realize, man, if someone took a snap picture, you ever rode a roller coaster and they can take a picture when you're coming down like a hill or something. The faces people make,
they don't realize they're making.
You don't realize. So you don't know how you're going to react to things until you're actually in that particular moment.
Right.
You just don't know how you're going to react. And think about it. Think about the culmination of how that reaction happens. Say if you had a shitty day. And then all of a sudden an incident like it happened. That can escalate it. Say if you had an awesome day, you kissed your wife, you said goodbye to your kids, you had an awesome breakfast, you stopped by and got some coffee, you high-fived all your fellow police officers or whatever, you had an awesome day, and then you have an incident like that.
Very
different. Would it be a different outcome? Would it be different? So I think what happens is I think there's a certain level of emotional intelligence that needs to factor in.
Absolutely. I think you nailed it right on the head. It's emotional intelligence that we need to actually start teaching officers how to become more emotionally intelligent, which means, and essentially the definition of emotional intelligence is our ability to be able to understand what we feel, why we feel it, and how to use it to our advantage. And so we need to be able to know that be aware of those feelings as they're coming to us, be able to synthesize it, and be able to process it internally, and then be able to react appropriately. I know because I've been in, and I'm the most loving guy out there, but I grew up in a very poor neighborhood. I've been in lots of fights, and so I knew after the first couple of days that shit don't scare me. The fight don't scare me, man. It don't scare me. You can hit me, okay? That don't hurt that much. Maybe tomorrow.
Let's go.
Let's go.
So think about it like this though, Taz. So you grew up in a poor neighborhood. You know, I grew up in the hood as well. But the thing is, you got to realize is that a lot of people don't grow up like we grow up. You know what I'm saying? So think about it. So imagine officer, whatever he or she's name is, grows up in a town where they're not surrounded but like black people, Hispanic people, or different cultures or whatever.
Little alarms go off in their heads.
Right. And then they go to police in areas. You know, Shannon Sharp, that's on Fox News, I believe, Fox Sports. He made a good point last week. He said to sometimes white people got to understand, white folks got to understand that you say you got black friends, but if you really had black friends, you would empathize and sympathize to their plight. That's with any so imagine any other race. So me saying I have white friends or Asian friends and things like that. If things happen to them, I feel shit happening to them. Like, that's fucked up. I'm sorry, that's just messed up. but when you say you got black friends, so imagine a cop. You know what's funny? That Brookhaven incident that happened 10 miles away from the Derrick Chauvin trial. The mayor of that particular town said that the problem is we have a lot of cops that work in our community.
They don't live there. They don't live there, right?
So you can never empathize or sympathize with the plight of the people that you police.
So do you think that it might be beneficial for a beat cop, the cops that are in certain areas all the time, patrolling those areas, do you think they should live there? I think so.
I think, I honestly don't do. Like, you think about, man. Really,
I mean, who might care more, right?
I wouldn't live in the hood, though. I wouldn't live in the hood, but I would be in close proximity to the hood. You know,
or have lived there, or at least have lived there,
or have lived there. Think about most people that. So when you go to college, they call you after you graduate. They call you alumni. There's a familiarity with the campus that you went on. You walk the same hallowed grounds of all the other current students or future students. You walk as an alumni, you understand the plight of this particular university and all the shit people got to go through. So you got to realize you police an area that you can't really empathize or sympathize with the plight of the people who live in the community. How are you policing?
Right.
And what's happening? Yeah, how are you policing that shit? Man, so real talk. That's like me going into a whole Hispanic neighborhood and I can't speak Spanish.
Well, that's like, I think what you're getting at, it sounds like, and I think you're right. I do agree with you. Is that it develops a connection with the people that you're serving, and that breeds compassion. Like in order for me, like I'm going to treat the people that I understand and connect with much more compassion than was. I really appalls me to see the lack of compassion when I see an altercation. And I see how it's like some policemen are really good. I've known a few that are really awesome. They just they go out of their way to like help people who they realize like they're in a bad position. They're doing things that aren't good for them or the society, and so they give them a break. They help them. They actually help them on the job right there and say, "Hey, man, I'm not going to do this to you now, but you need to do this. This is because this is why you're running into these problems." And they're like, "Hey, man," and even my friend who worked in the police force, she said that everybody would come to her. She still sees people that they recognize her from being a police officer in Phoenix and stuff. And she said they'll come to her and thank her because she said, "You were one of the people that listened to me." I said, "You listened to me. You like sat there and listened to me. You cared." It's like she said sometimes that's all they need, man. And I'm like, I think we need our police officers to be part counselor and part law enforcement. We need them both. We need them both to be mashed together. We don't just need people enforcing the law. I think that's a very limited approach to it. And of course, we have a race issue here in this country because the country's founded on racism. I mean, like we had slavery. We had to put in amendments to make sure that certain sections of our population weren't going to be prejudicially, taken advantage of, and still didn't work.
Dude, look at it like this, man. I mean, I think racism in this country is so deep rooted. I think that it's kind of like, I don't know. It's kind of like you look at it like, it's like if you see something, like say if you drive in a neighborhood, you see like an eyesore, a building, or an abandoned building, or abandoned house, or something like that. You drive past it every single day. You see it's dilapidated. You see it's deteriorating. You see it looks horrible. It's an eyesore, right? I think we view our country like that, and I think people on the outside view our country like that. Like it's here to stay, but how do we get past it, and how do we rectify it? I don't think throwing money at it solves the problem. Think about all the people that throw the money at it are like, here, we're going to combat racism. Here's money. Okay, but you're still racist. So thanks for the money, but you still have you have systemic racism. But here's the thing: we talk about cops. Hey, dude, when I was a kid, man. All I wanted to do is be a cop or FBI agent or DEA or ATF. Because I thought I could solve crimes. You know how you watch Columbo and all the old things back in the day? I walk into a room, I'm like, hey, who
there's a goddamn mystery here. I gotta solve this shit.
Right. Hey, you got salt on your lips, so I think and I wanted to be that. So I don't never scoff or say anything negative or anything disparaging toward police officers because I think they do an awesome job. Because once again, if the building's on fire, I'm not running in there. If someone's shooting, I'm not running toward the bullets. I'm sorry, but the thing is, so I commend them. But I think that on like I said, think about it. If systemic racism is so deep rooted in this country, sometimes you can't help from getting shit on.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like people like this. Think about it. I have white friends. I have friends of different ethnic groups or whatever. But think about it like this. You have to sometimes be relatable. You have to understand people's plight, man. I don't care if they're white, black, green, purple, whatever. You have to understand their plight because once again, at the end of the day, if Derek Chauvin was doing this to a dog, who would be mad? Who would be upset? Everybody be like, "Oh my God, you just killed
dog."
You see what they did to Mike Vick? Mike Vick did some dogs. The whole country came after it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you see one black man get killed by a cop, and it was divided. It was very divisive. Everybody was like, "Well, I don't know what he do. He was on drugs.
So
he was on."
Hold on, but just because he got drugs or he did something that doesn't deserve death necessarily.
Yeah, like I'm sorry. So wait a minute. I just took some cough medicine. Should I die? No. I mean, damn.
Right.
So think about it. Think about like this, Dad. Think about bodybuilding. When I first started bodybuilding, dude, I was a 16-year-old, 175 pound black teenager in a gym to play like heavy metal. and you know what I'm saying? And it was a whole bunch of white guys in the gym, a few brothers sprinkled here and there. But once again, I think sometimes other groups, Asian, Hispanic, black, different ethnic groups, we become eclectic in our existence when it comes to dealing with like white folks, right? And I think that we have to be, we're accepting of everything. Think about it, man. You go into any black neighborhood, how many Chinese restaurants you gonna see? Okay, so like, damn, how many Mexican restaurants you gonna see? I mean, think about it like this. So if you think about it on a level where like you become kind of eclectic about who you're around. Like, dude, I like classic rock because I heard it in the gym.
Right.
It wasn't played in my house. I listened to an R&B station growing up. But you know where I think classic rock. I love classic rock. Def Pink Floyd, Leonard Skinner, all those guys. I used to hear this shit.
So I was just listening. I just was listening all week to last week to Led Zeppelin and to all these great fucking what I consider some of the great rock bands of our era, which is really most of them were in the 70s, in the late 60s and 70s. Right. But I mean, there's some good stuff going on today, but in rock, in my opinion, all the best stuff was in the 70s. And I don't mean to diverge, but you're right. I think what you're talking about is finding other connections with people other than just race. So and so when you look at it from a race card perspective, then it would look like you're extremely eclectic with your friendships and with all the things you like. But really, you're just choosing to focus your attention on other aspects of the person that spark your interest, that add value. And so I think that I will feel so much. I hope I get to a day in my life where I can look into my own country and around the world, and that people stop giving so much a shit about how much pigmentation we each have. I really do hope that comes because it's just like it would be like we using height or eye color as a form to discriminate against each other. And it's like that would sound ludicrous, right? Oh, you're 5'7"? Fuck you, you're a dick. You're like,
oh, you're short. How tall are you? Oh, he's only 5'7". I'm talking to him. He's only 5'7". Dude, look, think about it like this, though, Chad. That's. I'm glad you said that, because here's the thing. You realize that, like, think about police officers. There's probably like a lot. There's a lot of good police officers out there that's actually putting in good work. You know what I mean? But what narrative is spun on police officers is a negative spin. And I think that, like I said, think about, like, we need to highlight more, we need to accentuate more of the positives about, because they do. If someone busting in your window right now, the first person you're gonna call is 911.
Fucking guy I want the police to show up. Come to me, please.
If I'm on the side of the road or whatever, and I need to call someone, I'm calling 911. I don't have a distaste toward police officers based on some negative imageries that I see that's created. Think about it, man. The Columbus, Ohio clip of the girl getting shot. When it first came out, they only showed a snippet of the video. You had to watch the whole video to get a clear understanding as to why the cop pulled his gun and why he shot the girl. I'm not justifying her dying, but I'm just saying she was about to stab somebody with a whole knife.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like,
I'm sure the girl who's about to get stabbed is not saying no, thank you.
Right, like she's like, oh damn, you just saved my life. So you gotta realize, like I said, you think about it. You look at Martin Luther King's speech where he said, where we can all get along. I have a dream speech. You think about it, man. Like I would go into my gym when I was that young, and heavy metal would be blasting, classic rock would be blasting. I mean, I got my little Walkman with my cassette player back in the 80s, and I'm sitting there listening to like rap music and shit like that. But then when I didn't have any batteries, I would have to listen to classic rock. And when my ears start to understand that I enjoyed classic rock, I enjoyed how it sounded. It made me look at. I didn't look at that's just white folks listen to music. No, it's music. It's music. Just like if you think about it like this, is that you go to a bodybuilding show. You're going to see different ethnic groups. You're going to see different people. Everybody's talking about the muscle. No one's saying, think about it, because everybody on the damn stage is tan like they're black. You know what I mean? Even all white dudes that compete look like black dudes on stage. So my thing is, if that was the case, if color wasn't a factor, you wouldn't tan.
Right. Exactly right.
You wouldn't tan. So why is it important? Why is it so important on stage? And not and then on the outside now it becomes a big issue. Right. You know what I'm saying? Because once again, you have to wear spray tan to compete. You do. You look like a damn brother on stage. So help me understand that. So you tan dark, and then you don't like you might have a bias toward people with got like the little melanin in their skin.
I think it's because now can't speak for everybody who and I don't. I think when you talk to most people who we would consider as quote unquote racist, they would tell you that they're not. Right? They would say, "Oh no, I'm not racist." And it's because they believe they have good reasons why they don't like this particular group of people or this particular person. Yeah. But they don't realize that it's actually built into their logic. Their racism is actually built into this logic that they're using to be able to discriminate, even if it is just their opinion about how they feel about the person.
Right.
So I think that it has that they don't see, even though they have to spray tan to get to essentially look like a black dude, right? Some dudes spray tans to get on stage because it brings out the definition better and it makes you look better on stage. But that's the technical reason why we get dark, is because you can't show off the level of definition without it, right? But in general, I think if you poll people, they would say dark looks better. I like being darker. I like having a suntan versus me looking pasty, ghostly white. Now, and in general, I would say that's generally true for most people. I don't think it's true for myself. I think, look, if you go to Asia, you see that most people desire complete pasty white complexions. They don't go out in the sun during the heat, during when it's sunny, when the sun's out. They use lots of SPF 5000 and lotion and they wear hats and stuff, especially in China and in Thailand, because they don't want to look dark. Because dark people are the people that work out in the fields, they're the people that do all the work. They don't want to look like that. It's a status thing. It's a complete status thing. Asians are horrible about this shit. So one thing I don't like about my culture is that they're really, really fixated on status. The Japanese people aren't quite as bad with this, but they still are. But they're not nearly as bad as Chinese people, Thai people. They're all fucking brainwashed. Okay, all in that part of Asia, they're all brainwashed. You got to have the right handbag, you got the right labels. The way you look is important, and I think they've just taken it to this. The Asians take everything to the extreme, right? Like everything's got to be like just right. When you go to Asia, you'll see. I think it's interesting. You'll see almost I saw 10 or 15 skincare places doctors that just focus on skin, and what they're doing is they're bleaching their skin. They're doing all this crazy stuff to look completely like a doll. You know how those dolls look? They look all pasty white. They want to look like this.
Porcelain dolls.
Porcelain dolls, right? Now, my contention is this: that everybody looks the best in their own natural color. If I'm naturally darker, I'm going to look the best naturally dark. If I'm naturally white, if I'm a white fucker, then I'm going to look better if I'm white. And I really believe this to be true, especially if they're really white and they try to look dark. Get out there in the sun a lot, they fuck up their skin. Their skin isn't protected, so it gets all leathery, and they just look horrible. And they think they look good. I'm like, no, you don't look good. You look horrible. You are white. It's okay for you to be white. It's okay. Be that color. Or paint the shit on, but it don't look right. It's to me it doesn't. I think that people look better. Now for competition, yes, you got to get dark, but in general, this is a preference that we have. But I think the people who tend to be racist, this is beyond preferences. Has to do with they have deep-rooted beliefs in the nature of the person with that who looks like that. It's what's inside that they're really judging. They're not really judging the outside. The outside is just the indicator that person is this kind of person I don't like because they do this, this, and this. They have this is the stuff you see. And I would hear people, especially back east. I hate to say this because I love my back east people, but especially back east, man, I've seen more. I heard more racism, and experienced it from people they were my friends or people that I knew. They didn't even. And if you would ask them, they would never say they were racist. But the stuff that they would say, I'm like. That's fucking racist, right? Kind of fucking. It's either racist or it's not, man. That's fucking racist. If you're making a vast generality about a whole race of people, just based on something arbitrary, and skin color is fucking arbitrary. Okay, it's arbitrary. Yes. You didn't determine it. I didn't determine mine. You didn't determine yours. Our parents did, and even they didn't determine it. They were born that way too. So it's completely fucking arbitrary. But so, anyways, I kind of feel like we as a culture we probably need to focus a bit more on trying to look beyond the differences. And that sounds so cliche, but it's fucking the truth.
Dude, look, think about it like this, man. I would honestly, I was joking with somebody, man, about a month or so ago. I said, "Damn, what if you were standing next to somebody that was like a serial killer or something, right? And you didn't know, and all of a sudden you turn on the news, and you're like, and the such stalker has been captured, and you're like, damn, I was in the store with that dude, I was standing right next to his hands, like what the hell?" But so imagine this, man. When I worked at Ford Motor Company, man, for like 15 years, dude, and I mean, I worked around people, man, that if someone says, "Oh man, he's racist," I wouldn't have known it because I was, if I never heard it or wasn't treated any particular way, I wouldn't believe it. I'd be like, "He's a what? Oh no, that's my guy." And it was the weirdest thing because when remember I told you this about a month ago, man. I said, "Look, I said that a girl I used to do, because I used to do theater, I used to be an actor."
No shit. That's fucking awesome. I love
Dude, I was acting.
See, I'm still learning shit about you.
I used to do theater with her, man, and she's white, she's super cool, right? We were like this, and in 2016, everybody's Facebook shit start changing. Everybody started posting like their own views and how they felt about shit. So she's my friend on Facebook. She started posting shit, and I was like, "Oh wow,
you're racist."
Oh my God! So dude, I'm like, this is months and months and months. So me and my daughter Cassidy, we were in a subway and ran into her, and she had never seen Cassidy. She hadn't seen Cassidy. She was a baby. She was like, "Oh my God!" She's kissing all on Cassidy. She even gave me a kiss. Her husband had shook my hand and "What's up, bro? Hey, oh yeah." I'm thinking to myself, are these the same people that posted on Facebook?
What was she saying?
Remember we talked about a month. I said there's a duality.
Yes.
There's a duality. Like people act a certain way with the people that they are comfortable with, they're secure with, and then they were like, "No, I don't like black people. I don't like those black people. You're good, but I don't like that Asian person. Oh, you're good, but I don't like those Hispanic people. No, you're good though, but I like." And it's like we live this duality.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah, and it's odd. I think it's a psychosis. I think it's a mental thing.
I think what happens is when you work closely with somebody like you did with her, or if you were working with them like you did with your friend at Ford Motor Company, then you get to know each other. And you stop seeing the differences. You start seeing the things that you like about the person, and so you start to treat them appropriately. You start to treat them just like that. The problem is that I think in our country, when there's some situation like this, the police aren't allowed to really get to know the people because they have to react, and so they can't do that part. They can't connect. But we have to accept that, hey man, we just don't know enough. We need to connect with people before we start making some of these judgments. The police are a separate issue because they are in situations where they can't really do this. They have to actually act, and so I understand that. So we need to have different solutions for them. But for us, common citizens who don't have to interact in those situations, and mostly when we're interacting with people that who are a different race than us, we have to give them the benefit of the doubt. We have to investigate first. When I went to school and I started dating with girls in high school and in college, I didn't just pick them out and date whoever. I got to know them first, and then I chose the ones I liked.
Yeah.
It was based on my interaction with them. Now I know people who just go out and want to hunt down the nicest piece of ass that they see, and that's fine. I'm not having any problem with that. But those aren't the women that they marry. It's because they didn't.
You know they always say, "Don't judge a book by its cover."
Yeah.
We tell kids this. We teach kids this. Don't judge a book by its cover. But think about how it's hard to get out of that. Because once again, we're visual. We see people first, and once again, like I said, you can be around a plethora of people, man, like that you would never know their beliefs and their ideologies about, certain topics and certain things that people talk about like in society, right? You would never know. And as soon as you turn a page in that person's book, you know what I'm saying? As soon as you get to this book is dedicated, you get to that part. Right. And you're like, okay, that's sincere. That's nice. He takes care of his mom, or he's
just like me.
You know what I mean? I mean, it's like one of those things. Like you gotta, if we take the time, man, I think how can we get past this? We need to learn more and educate each other more about us, about each other. Because once again, you can't just have a Black History Month 1 month and throw out the most basic Black history, or just like with all the recent over the last couple of months about the like Asian hate or whatever. No, that's not new. That's not a new thing. No, let's go back some hundreds of years or whatever. No, that's
how many Chinese people were killed fucking making the railroads that we have? How like thousands of Chinese people were killed making those railroads? They made the fucking railroads, man.
Right.
They made like 90% of them.
Yeah, so you think about it like that, like we need to learn more, and like I said, but we they hold on to a false history as far as like knowing what it's so divisive. If we knew more about one another, our perspective would change.
So I think we
would look at it different.
What you're talking about here is what I think, and maybe this is the reason why I am the way I am in my life. So people have asked me over the years, like, how come you could be like you are, Ted? You're always so compassionate. You're always so loving towards everybody. You could like anybody. I forgive easily. And the reason why is this is because I seek connection. And what you're talking about is that. Seek connection first before you start making judgments. When you actually can connect with somebody, then you learn about them, you understand who they are at least a little bit better, and then as a person. And then I think when you do that with most people, you kind of like them. They're kind of like us. They're everyone we really are.
You're a cool dude, man. No, you got a big swastika on your side of your neck. But you're a nice guy. I didn't know you had a daughter. We go to the same school. Look, dude, I ran into when Cassidy when she was small. I ran into a guy. This is no shit, dude. We had an incident, right? And it wasn't like a verbal confrontation or anything like that. He said a snide remark, and I heard him say, and it wasn't toward me. It was towards something or somebody else. And I was like, oh, that's kind of ill.
That's kind of ugly.
That's kind of ill, dude. Ran into him at a school dance. The first thing he says, "Didn't I just see you the other day?" And I'm thinking about, yeah, I did.
You're like, I did, but you better watch your words, bro.
like, you may say the wrong thing, yo. But he was like, but it was funny because the connection was the fact that we were there at the same school. So the familiarity as far as like our daughters being the same age and the same grade, and then that was the connection. So regardless of what happened the day before when he was kind of talking sideways, he was like, hey, I just saw you the other day. Connection. So I'm thinking, is it that simple? Is it that simple where if we have more connections, with one another, that we will find more things we like about each other?
I think it's a start. I think we just find that one little hook that we could find that's common between another person, and it makes it so much easier to be able to then go in and really connect with him, really, really try to understand, like, hey, because he probably felt like, just like you probably did, he's kind of like me. He's got a daughter. We take him to the same school. We're at the same functions. We both give a shit about our daughters. And when you find that, at least then you have an anchor to build some kind of relationship with. Even if it's just a brief encounter, it's still somewhat of a relationship that you have to build with this person instantly, and it can mean the difference between, I guess, getting your neck stepped on and not. It's like,
right, I mean, and you look, man, and I think I've told you the story before. It's funny because I'll never forget it. When my daughter gets old enough, when she gets married or whatever, I'm always gonna bring this shit up because I thought that was the most. I thought we went to a Burger King, and I think I was off season.
Dude, you don't eat Burger King, do you? You don't eat Burger King, do you?
She ain't Burger King. She ain't Burger King. When they're little, itty bitty, man, you got to get them burgers and shit, right? So we walk in. I'm like 300-something pounds. I'm standing next. There's two cops standing there, and they were small cops. They weren't very big. They weren't very big at all. But then she looked at me. She kept looking at the cop. She kept looking at them. And she said, "Daddy, you're bigger than them.
You're bigger than both of them put together."
So I looked over at the cop, kind of like, yeah, she did just say that. And then you know what the connection was? It was a fist bump. Yeah, damn, dude, man. I said, I'm a bodybuilder. It was a dap. That was the connection. That was the connection. It's like we have more in common than we know, and if we find those connections in one another, I guarantee you, I'm not gonna say it's gonna fix everybody's systemic, deep-rooted, reared in the wrong direction beliefs and ideologies about racism, but damn, dude, it would get a lot of people that are silent behind racist things.
I would like to see a day. I would like to see a day where when we hear about a racist story, that people go, "Damn, that's kind of unusual." Instead of "fuck another one," "God damn, another one."
but not, wait a minute. Think about it like this though, dude. You ever watch it? Like I like sci-fi movies. When you watch a sci-fi movie, they always go into like the bar on that particular planet.
Right.
It's a mixture of a whole bunch of different aliens.
Right.
Right. It's everybody's different.
Can you imagine what Star Trek would have been like if they were racist? Like. fucking Captain Kirk's like making disparaging remarks about fucking Klingons and shit, or about fucking Spock in his ears.
Hey, what the fuck's wrong with your ears, bro?
Man, tune up the ears, bro. You didn't hear what I said,
right? Right. Maybe it's because you're a Klingon or whatever. I don't know. Get that fixed. I mean, but you're right. It's like we like I said, I think we have more in common.
Because I think deep down inside nobody wants to be racist, or they don't want to come across that way, or they don't see themselves that way. Most people. There's a couple motherfuckers out there, I'm sure, that's like, yeah, I'm fucking proud to be racist, but whatever. But like most of us out there don't feel like that they want to be that. That's not how they want to be identified, and they don't see themselves that way. And I think that they end up sometimes acting this out because they don't see connection. They just go off these, like you said, these artificial sort of pre-canned understandings of people. These sort of, you know what I mean? Like oh my God, I even hate to say this because it fucking cracks me up, and it's also appalling to me at the same time. When I was in college, my aunt, so I used to train a lot of guys, at the football team and stuff like that. And one of my buddies, Brian Beck, I still know him today. I coach his son today. He's a great guy. But he grew up in the inner city of Sacramento. He was a Crip. He and I used to train together. I used to help him. He was a defensive back. He was like ranked, I think he said 7th in the country. He got drafted by like the fucking Redskins or something. I forget what he was. Anyhow, he didn't have anywhere to go this one year for Christmas and for Thanksgiving. So I said, hey man, why don't you come to my aunt's house? We all get together as a family, go to my aunt's house for Thanksgiving and Christmas. So you come over here for Thanksgiving, because he didn't have nowhere to go for Thanksgiving. It wasn't a long enough break for him to go home. So he was just I'm like, you're just gonna be at your apartment, man, doing nothing? I'm like, fuck no, fuck that shit. Come to my house, come to my aunt's house. So I took him, and I remember asking my aunt, hey, is it okay if my friend Brian comes? And she said, sure, that's fine. So she came, and of course he's black. And so we come, we have a nice time. And then later I was talking to my aunt after everybody left. And she's like, oh yeah, your friend's really nice. We were talking about something, and she said, and this, I don't know where this comment came from, but the comment I remember was, she's like, well, black people do smell funny. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm like, what? And she wasn't, I'm like, oh my God, like, what? I'm like, I didn't have it, I couldn't respond. I was just like, because I either get upset and she's my aunt, she's my mother's sister. I'm like, okay, I gotta go, man. Sue. I'm like, I don't get what you're talking about at all. I was like, what? So wow, there was these she had nothing to base this decision on. It was what was told to her as a child. It was told to her. I remember talking to my grandmother, and I asked my grandmother, who I looked up to my grandfather very much. My grandfather was an elder in our church. He was like this, everybody loved him. He was just such a wonderful personality. He was always loving. And I remember him as a boy before he died. He died when I was about 4 or 5. And he was always this wonderful person. And I asked my mother, I said, my mother and my aunt, I asked my grandmother, his wife, I said, was grandpa racist? Because he was a man of his time. Like he was 6'4", slender. He was a farmer in Oregon, fucking the whitest state out there practically. And he's got a crew cut. He looks like a guy stepped right out of the 50s. That's where he came from. My grandmother, my grandfather, they got married during the Depression, when my grandmother was 15, just about to turn 16. And my grandfather, he was like 22 or 3 or something like that. And
wow.
Yeah. So there was a pretty good age difference. And then but my grandfather, and he was kind of a ruffians in his day. He would go to the bars and he would fucking fight and shit until he became a Christian, and he rededicated his life, and he gave up all that stuff, right? Well, my grandmother said, well, your grandfather, he wouldn't have called him, my mother said he wouldn't have called himself racist. My mother was very close to her father, my grandfather. But she said he believed in the separate but equal. Oh. And I'm like, oh, okay. And it changed my viewpoint. It doesn't make me love my grandfather any less, but it definitely, I realized that we're all a part. We are each of us a part of our history, who taught us that, where we come from, and some of those messages aren't good. And we all have to realize, even myself, that some of the messages that I may have received as a child and as growing up and from my society aren't valid. They're simply not valid if they prove themselves to harm others or to be something that's not good. So, but we have to always be vigilant, I think, to ask ourselves, is what I think, is what I'm thinking, good? Is it something that I want to maintain and uphold? Because I think if he were alive today, he would not think that way. I don't believe he would. I believe, and again, I'm his grandson, and I love my grandfather, so I hope for the best. I don't know if that would be the case, but I would hope that he would say that he would change his opinion from separate but equal to just equal. He's like,
but what you said something very interesting though, man. I think that how we're reared and how we're brought up, what environment we come from. I think that sometimes all those things play a huge factor in the prompters.
They paint the background. They paint that background picture.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I think it causes unconscious biases. So think about it like this, man. If you're in a room and someone says a racist joke, and you don't say anything, there may be an unconscious bias in your mental to think to yourself that it was okay. That joke's okay. It does no harm, no foul. No one's here to be offended by the joke. We just said it amongst ourselves. But once again, you perpetuate a mindset that it's okay to be that way, and it's okay to be silent. So, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, so I think unconscious bias plays a huge part.
So, like, I've had a question. I've had a personal dilemma about this. So, because, this is my question to you. So, and that's a really good example, actually. Somebody, you're in a setting with others. Doesn't matter who they are. And somebody makes a comment that's racist, or that you feel is racist, that I feel is racist, or somebody else feels is racist. Even if nobody says anything. So what's the right thing to do, right? Like, what should I do? And obviously each person has to be compelled to do what they think is right themselves. I'm not telling anybody what to be and how to be. But I've often felt at odds, myself personally, because one side of me says, I need to call this person out so that they understand, so they know that they're being racist. Not because to punish them, but so that they know that this may be racist to others, and it may be offensive to some other people. And if you want to be the most compassionate person, you probably don't want to say that, right? Like, this is not a good idea. But I'm also a good person for a good joke. And if it's a good joke, but then you have to ask yourself what constitutes a good joke. I remember growing up, man, and half my jokes are racist. But I mean, that's everybody told the racist jokes. Like, that was the only jokes that I really heard.
I think everybody tells.
No one was trying to be racist.
Well, I mean, so you put yourself in you're in a. I think that the quantity that you're in is the fact that you think yourself like, okay, these are my friends, these are my people. Joke was said, but my thing is that you got to stand on your principles as far as how you feel about shit. You know what I'm saying? Because like I will pull your car. You say some racist shit around me, I'm gonna be like, that was inappropriate. I may not be harsh, or I may not embarrass you. I'm like, dude, that's an unfortunate joke.
Well, I would want someone to tell me, like, hey, man, that was offensive to me. I think that was racist, man.
Or just be the biggest motherfucker in the room, and people be fearful of telling
right.
fucking throat. I mean, that's the way I look at it. Because my thing is, look, dude, I was in the office one day, man. It was about a couple years ago. And someone said a joke that people took offense to. I didn't hear the joke, so I said, who said the joke? He said, I ain't really like it. I was like, well, who said the joke? He's like, well, he pointed. I was like, him. I said, tell me the joke. What joke? I said, tell the joke you just told me. Everybody was over here cracking up. Tell me the joke, like, because it was funny. Apparently, I want to hear it. I like to laugh too. But I knew it was offensive to a few people. But he wouldn't say it. He wouldn't tell the joke. He wouldn't say it. I was like, tell the joke. I may want to laugh, dude.
That's because he knows it's offensive.
Right. I said, so why are you depriving me of humor? Because you won't tell. Come on, dude. He wouldn't tell the joke. I said, so then after I said it like a third time, I said, so next time you want to say something that's inappropriate, keep that shit to yourself. Because once again, you don't know what ears are hearing and what ears are listening to conversation shit yourself. Because, we live in a society now where you think about it like now, man, like I was reading an article where I guess, people tweet certain things. People get offended so easily. I think we're becoming now. Please, the people out there, please don't judge me by this. I just think we're becoming a society of brittle spirits.
Absolutely.
You think about it, and they always say World War II was like, a real war. It was a great war. Great men came out of that war. Things like that. Right. But here's the thing, though. Our generations behind us, man, they weren't soft. They weren't soft at all. Shit didn't offend them, and they wouldn't say anything. If I said something offensive, they would stand on it, and they would double down on the offensive thing they just said and dare you to say some shit to them. But the thing is, now we become, everything is offensive. Everything.
Well, and that's another piece to this puzzle that is interesting, because in order for us to be, in order for us to be not. There's so many things that could be construed as racist or prejudicial in nature. I mean, not just forget about racism. It could be just prejudicial in nature, like prejudice against women, right, against fat people, against skinny people, against whatever. You name the thing. I mean, I was joking around somewhere some time ago, and I like a good joke, man. And I was imitating a person with special needs.
Wow!
And my workout buddy's like, "You're going to hell for that one, Tad." I'm like, I know I'm probably going to be first in line, but still, it's funny, right? but I would never personally make a joke if I felt that anybody would be offended by it. If I thought that somebody would be offended by it in the circle of who I'm telling this joke, I wouldn't say it. But I will still think it. Because jokes just come, man. These things just come. I'm not, and if I'm around somebody like my brother, I'm gonna say it. Oh, hey, dude, come here, bro. and if it's funny, we laugh. If it's not, we don't. But it doesn't really go beyond that. It's just more just us. We do anything to get a laugh. Now, is that right? I don't know. Like, I don't want to perpetuate any kind of like stereotyping.
Think about it like this, dude. I tell my daughter, man, when she was.
My intention is always good.
You say what?
My intention is always good. I just want to laugh.
Right, you're not a bad person, but think about it like this. Like I was the kid in school, man. Back in high school, we had a couple kids in my high school, man, that were like the equipment managers that had like Down syndrome, things like that. I was always the one high fiving.
Oh, I do the same thing, man. Absolutely.
You say what?
I said I do the same thing, man. It was. I won't say do the joke on there, but it's just the voice that I make because it sounds a lot like it.
Oh, see, that's funny.
But I'm playing myself. I'm playing it as myself. So,
but think about it like this. I think people, like, my disposition when it comes to talking about other people, man. I don't really get, like, if someone slips and falls. I told my daughter, if someone slips and falls, I don't laugh when they fall.
No.
Because
I don't do that.
Like she was like 2, and she said, Dad, that lady's fat. And she said it loud. Kids don't have no filter. She said shit loud, and I was like, "Oh, baby, don't say that. Don't say that out loud. Yeah, don't say that loud." And then she was like, "But I had to explain to her because here's the thing, man. You know what? If something happened to you or something was wrong with you, like I said, people just don't have those type of spirits. People just aren't. You got people that can laugh. I can laugh myself all fucking day, dude. I can laugh myself all fucking day. I don't think highly of myself in the sense that, like, if shit's on my face, tell me shit's on my face. I'm not gonna be embarrassed by it because you know what, shit gets on people's face. So you know what I'm saying? Like, goddamn, like really talk. It's like we are just so sensitive.
That reminds me. I don't mean to. That reminds me. I was just happening today watching this clip from Warren G. I follow him on Instagram, and so one of my buddies trains him. Somebody I used to train. He trains him now, and Lionel Brown. Lionel L Train. He's bro. Yeah. Great guy. I love him.
L Train.
Yeah, he's awesome. You might have met him. Did you meet him? Because I was coaching him.
I never met him before.
Okay, well, I think I was coaching him by the time I was working with you years back. But I started following Warren G recently because he's coaching him. So I just wanted to see. He's like, I'm gonna get this boy in shape. So, anyways, he has this video on his thing of him. He's on a plane and it's a private jet. They're flying somewhere with some of his boys. They're going somewhere to do some music or something. And he's like, "See, man, here's this." And you can see when people do this camera thing like this, and showing it for the people behind him. And he can see what's there, and he can see his face. And he's like, "Oh, man." And you can see it's like a gray hair. It's like a gray nose hair. But he's like, "Oh, yo, man, that ain't no booger, man. You guys don't think that's no booger. That's a gray hair." He's like, that was the more important thing for him to let everybody know. That wasn't no booger, man. That was a gray hair. Because shit gets on people's face.
I mean, it's just, think about it like this, man.
I think that's gonna be our new that's gonna be our new catchphrase for the show. Sometimes shit gets on your face.
Sometimes it's the truth though, man. Sometimes shit gets on your face, bro. But think, man, real talk. We just have to be mindful in today's society to where everything offends everybody. Everything offends everybody, and it's okay to be offended by. If you're bothered by shit, I would much rather you speak your mind than not say anything about being offended. But yeah, you got shit on your face.
No, I have to. I got my allergies, man. I probably do have shit on my face. We're talking about fucking nose hairs.
Like we just gotta think. Okay, so look. So think about it like this though, Tad. We're bodybuilders, right? It's nothing more offensive we're the most sensitive motherfuckers on the planet. Like you can fucking look in the mirror and be like, oh damn, I feel small as shit.
You said that's the first thing you see. We forgot this. You're like, do I look small?
Right, motherfucker. So like out on the camera, I was like, do I look small in the camera?
Well,
come on. But we do. We're sensitive as fuck.
Absolutely. And why do you think we're bodybuilders?
Think about it, someone says, man, hey, everybody's heard this as a bodybuilder. They'll see you and they're like, oh, my cousin's about your size.
Shit.
Yo, what? Motherfucker, what? Yo, let me see. Where's he at? You get all sensitive and you get all like defensive and shit about it. Like, my father used to bodybuild. Did he really?
Dude,
really?
When I was
what I'm saying? So,
in my 20s and 30s, my friends, when I was from college, they knew body was so important to me, and like I was always trying to get bigger practically my whole life. And they'd be like, they'd come in just to fuck with me. They'd be like, Tad, do you look smaller this week? I'd be like, what the fuck? Nah, fuck you, dude.
Look, the first thing, if someone says this shit to me, the first thing that comes out of my mouth is motherfucker. What the fuck did you say? I'm looking small. Hey man, you gaining weight? I'm what?
I'm what?
Hey man, your stomach sticking out? What? You get defensive about that shit. So once again, I think we all are sensitive as fuck. I think honestly gotta be mindful of other people around us. And I think as a society, I think that, I'm not necessarily saying that, the cure of racism and any kind of like racial bias people has toward anybody on the fucking planet. I think it's a gain understanding of the people that we are around.
Yes.
Hey man, when we talked about sci-fi movies, right? The thing that bothers me about science fiction movies, like if you land on a planet you ain't never been on, why the fuck you walking around like you've been there before? I mean, it's the honest to God truth. Like I saw Prometheus. You ever seen Prometheus?
I love that movie. It's awesome. Yeah. With the did you see how big that motherfucker, that alien dude? He's like the original species, right? Something like that.
Right. Yeah.
He's got the original DNA.
These motherfuckers are in a cave, and so they're lost. And then they see this little creature coming out of the water, and the dude's talking to it like he's seen it before. Like he actually knew what the animal was, and then eventually the animal grabs him and breaks his arm and eats him up and kills both of them. So in our country, in our world, why are we so quick to walk around as if we're familiar with our surroundings? We're familiar with the people that we know, people that we work with. I mean, we don't know people like we think we do. Just like I told you about what Shannon Sharp said last week about black friends. Like, no, you can't say you have a black friend if you can't empathize and sympathize to people's plight. If you can't do that at all, then you're not a friend, because if, like me and you, we're friends. You know what I'm saying? Like if someone says some shit, I'm like, nah, that's my guy, man. What the fuck? What are you saying? I would get defensive. Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Because we're friends. But if we weren't friends and someone says some shit, I might say some shit about you too. But that we're not fucking friends. But I just think that we honestly, I think we need to do a better job of knowing one another, because I think that, like I said, we have more in common than we don't. Like me and you, like our daughters are the same age. You know what I'm saying? I mean, your daughter was born in April, right?
No, June.
June. So think about it. Cassie was born in February. They're just a few months apart. You know what I mean? Me and you're the same age. You know what I mean?
Yep.
As far as bodybuilding paths, we kind of got, so we have more familiarities than not. But I guarantee you, man, if you extend your hand, like I like everybody. To be honest with you, I fist bumped a guy the other day in the gym that I swore that he had a Confederate flag hanging in his fucking truck. I swore I saw that shit, right? But what I do to fuck, because first of all, you don't, because no one in the gym is gonna be bigger than me, so I can talk to whoever the fuck I want to talk to, right? So I was like, hey man, what's this machine? I just asked him a bullshit question, like, what's this machine do? He's like, I said, how do you unlatch it and get it? So I didn't think he was going to answer the fucking question. so I forced his hand to answer the fucking question, and then when he told me the answer, I fist bumped him. But the reluctancy of him putting his fist up, I guarantee you, it was about a good 1 or 2 seconds.
Really?
Like he didn't, like he he was like, but then, like I said, but that's the thing, though. It's that unconscious bias. Like in his mind, he probably think like, I can't fist bump a black guy because I got a whole Confederate flag hanging in my truck right now.
Or he might have just been, or he could have just been afraid of you.
Right, or he could have just been afraid. But once again, like, we have more familiarities with one another.
Yes.
From a DNA perspective, from a culture perspective. I mean, guarantee, I'll be damned. Yeah, all the people that stormed the Capitol on fucking January 6th, let's run all the motherfuckers' DNA. I guarantee you, they're gonna be 25% something that has melanin in it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, they say it's not going to be too much longer before pretty much the population of the world is mixed, completely mixed. Like there's some point in the future where most of the population of the world will be mixed. So you're not going to have white or black. You're going to have a lot of mixing of all, because the world's so small now. With we can get around so easily, and we can meet people.
Come on, man. Like if we pigeonhole ourselves, man, to live one existence and live, come on, man. You can only eat vanilla ice cream so much, man.
Well, I don't know. Slow your roll, man. I like vanilla ice cream for the last 50 years all by itself.
That's unfortunate.
People, don't you remember after the shows, man? I only wanted 2 things: big pitcher lemonade and 4 scoops of vanilla ice cream. That's it. That's all I need.
Yeah, but think about it like this, man.
But I get what you're saying.
Okay, you're not like a printer, like you put paper in it. The paper's white, right? The paper ain't shit until you put color on that motherfucker.
Right.
You know what I mean? That paper is not important until you put color on the paper.
Here's the funny thing: when you start doing some of this wordplay, it's kind of interesting. So like white, the color white and the color black. You look at black as a color on the spectrum, and you look at white, and white is technically the absence of color. That's what it is. And black is the inclusion of all colors. That's actually what it is. Yes. It's the inclusion of all colors. So it's really kind of fundamental. Yeah. We need to fundamentally like accept that pigmentation is actually the inclusion of everything.
Yes.
But you're right. It's this. We need to get to know each other. We need to connect with one another. We need to be able to do it in our own ways. I think we need to preach these kinds of messages to people, so that people, instead of just telling people not to be racist, or still just telling people to look beyond color, you can't tell them not to do something. It doesn't work to say. It's like saying don't do drugs. Remember in the 80s, Nancy Reagan, just say no. Like that shit worked. Sure it did. It didn't work for shit. It fucking failed completely.
Man, more motherfuckers take drugs. Right. More motherfuckers take drugs.
Well, the reason why it didn't work was because she didn't give them a better option. So, you think they're using drugs because they just thought, I'll just use some drugs. Oh, don't use them? Okay, I won't use them. Like, no, they're using them for very good. There's very good fucking reasons why they're using them. Their life is shit. They sell them. They do whatever. It's available. This is who they see. All their friends are doing this stuff. Like, hey man, that's real shit, right? This is what happens. But if you give them a different option, that's like saying go get a job. Like, okay, but there's no jobs. it's like, so what am I supposed to do? It's like, you got to give them a better option. You can't just tell them not to do something. So instead of saying don't be racist, I would say seek connection. Everyone you meet finds out one small detail about them that might be similar to yourself.
You know what's crazy, man? I look, dude. If you go into any dude, so it was a story, man. I read, man, like years ago, and there was a dude, man. I think he was in Arkansas or some shit like that, man. And he had like, he was Confederate flags flying around. He was all off in the woods and shit. First, that was just weird in itself, by being out in the fucking woods, dude. I'm sorry. Like deliverance.
I think that makes a person go a little nutty.
So wait a minute though, dude. So dude would like leave his house, and he would seek out like black women for, as like prostitutes, right? Like he would like seek out black women.
He liked.
I was, yeah, like so that was odd. So like you got all this Confederate shit, you off in the woods talking about this you talking about white supremacy or whatever, and then you like black women. So it's like, okay, I'm confused. So like, okay, you don't like black people, or you do like black people? You just like to sleep with black women. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of weird, but it was weird because
you knew this guy.
What's interesting about it is that this motherfucker had like mixed kids.
Oh,
he had like a whole bunch of mixed kids. Yeah, he had like some mixed kids.
How do you explain that to your kids with your Confederate flag and your shit?
Like, I don't like black people, but you're mixed, and I like black women.
But you're different, son.
Right, but you're right. So it's kind of like I said, dude. It's like we have so many similarities when it comes to each individual person, man. We just don't never turn enough pages in those particular people's books to gain an understanding of who they are as a person. Think about it, man. If you went to a mixer or a networking event, and you go to a networking event to meet a different array of people to expand your business or to tell people about your business. I mean, you can't pigeonhole yourself in one way to think, because, like I said, the world is progressing. Like you said, if everybody's going to be mixed, the world progresses forward. But to be conservative in your mindset and your ideologies and belief and stay one way, I mean, there's no evolution. How do you evolve as a people? How do you evolve spiritually? How do you connect? If you don't try to like.
I think it's hard. Like I've always preached that the common thread between racism and also a lot of the ills that we have in our society happens to be that people just don't really know who they are. They don't know who they are spiritually. They know who they are, their name. They know what they do. They know what they have. They know what they want. But that's not who you are. Who you are is bigger than your body, bigger than the machine that we operate. It's the inspiration. It's this higher consciousness that really animates this life that we have today. And that piece of us is beyond this physical life. Is bigger than this physical life. But you got to know who that person is. That's the person that's really behind the scenes within us. And you can call it spirit, you can call it energy, you can call it whatever you want to call it. It doesn't matter what word you use with it. It's the same thing. It's this thing that really is who we are. And I think the best way I've described it on other podcasts and from doing a lot of, and this comes from the interviews I've had with people who do like DMT or ayahuasca, and they have this out-of-body experience. And what they end up always saying about things is like, wow, man, like they say things like, everything is love. That's what it feels like. Everything feels like love, and we're connected to everything and everybody. Everything in this universe, every particle of grain of sand, every planet, every person, everything we're connected to. It's an energy field that we're all connected to, and you can't get out of it. But just this body, because we live in this body, and because we live with ocular nerves, and we see the world in a very limited range of frequencies.
Yes.
And so we only see separation. But it's not like you and I, we're not really separated. We're really part of the same energy field. But you have
part of the same fucking, the same fucking blue ball, man.
That's right.
The same fucking blue. We like it's like living in the house with somebody and not talk to them.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Exactly.
It's kind of like, what's funny about what you just said, man. I had a guy. He's gay, right? And he said he didn't realize how white he was until he came out.
How? What do you mean? Why?
And that's real talk. He said he didn't realize how white he was until he came out as gay.
Oh.
Because he didn't realize his whole existence was around all white men, all white family, all white people, all white conversations. And then he came out as gay. He said, "Oh, well, I'm gay." And then all of a sudden, his life became more eclectic. He said he has different friends.
He started including different people.
Races. Yeah, and he's like, because once you just said it. You said because most people don't know themselves.
That's right, they don't.
They don't know themselves, and so you think about how society's set up. Society is set up to where you don't know yourself because society tells you who you are.
That's right.
If you got a nice car, you got a big house, you're rich.
And so what ends up happening in those situations is people draw boxes around themselves to define themselves, so they know they can get an idea of who they are, and they draw a box around others, so they can know who they are. Now, And so and I think some of this is built out of evolutionary necessity, because if you go way back to this hunter-gatherer stage when we were out there living in caves and we relied on tribal cultures to be able to feed ourselves and to survive, then if you and I were in the same tribe, let's say we're like you and I in the same tribe, we're out there with maybe 10 other dudes, we got maybe 30 people in our tribe, maybe, right? Or maybe we might have a smaller tribe. Maybe we might have like 15 people, right? We're all family basically, right. And we hunt together. The women do the gathering, and we do the hunting, and we do the protecting. Well, guess what, man? If we couldn't automatically, when we encounter another group of people, you needed to automatically be able to tell what the fuck was up. Otherwise, you can get your shit taken and killed for your resources, because there was no stores to go to. So food was the most valuable resource, food and water. And so food, water, and protection, shelter. And if you didn't have those three things, you're dead. Okay, you're gonna die. Because guess what, brother? You and I back then, we were not the top of the food chain back then. You know, like we had to watch out for fucking tigers and lions and shit, and you name God knows what else is out there. Fuck. So you know, we had to make sure that we could protect ourselves. So you had to be able to make these quick judgment calls. The problem is that we don't need that now. Well, not all the time. But we do need a little bit of it. But we don't need it as much as we did back then. I think it's a kickback from evolutionarily being able to look at somebody and go, that's the enemy. You know what I mean? Like, I tell people, like, dogs do this, right? Like, have you ever wondered why your dog knows exactly? Somebody comes in your house and he's fucking skeptical. He's like, no, man, this motherfucker's not coming in here. Right. And then other people, he's like, oh, yeah, man, you're cool. And so dogs pick up on all the nonverbal cues. And so do we. We just use our logic. We just use logic to logic it out. So when we feel that, remember, you always hear people say stuff like, they catch some serial killer, right? And then they start to interview all the neighbors, and like, oh man, he was like such a nice guy, but I knew there was something wrong with him. Well, then why didn't you fucking say something? It's like, because they use their logic to say, well, I don't really know him. I don't really have any proof. I mean, yeah, he's probably just had a bad day. Like, yeah, that's why he's got 3 kids in his fucking garage, chained to a fucking wall. I'm like, I know, man, I hear stories about this shit, man. And I'm like, One of my friend who was a police officer, she was telling me about this one incident of went after this thing. This guy, he was a child molester. He was a convicted child molester. He was out, got out of prison. So she has to do these calls from the court. Court has to go out there, and you got to do them on surprise at night. So she would go with the SWAT people because she's like, I don't want to go alone, man, because bad shit could happen. So she would bring the SWAT people with them, and she said they were always had her back. You know, they would surround the place, and then she would go in and say, hey, okay, I'm here to do this, drop in. Just want to talk to you. Just want to see if there's anything up here that shouldn't be here, because they're not supposed to have anything to do with children, right? Not even your goddamn ringtone on your phone. No Disney ringtones. Nothing that reminds them of children. Okay, and he's like, and I guess she said he was looking sketchy and shit. Like, and she's like, hey man, and he was trying to go for this drawer, this dresser. She's like, no, I need you to sit down. She's like, I don't know what you got, what's going on here. It's like, I'm not gonna look at nothing. I don't got no reason to do that. But we need to talk. So she does her thing. She calms him down. She does her thing, and then something happens, and she says, I need to go check outside the back because some people complained that there was some sounds coming out from the backyard from your garage. She's like, he seemed kind of nervous. She's like, I'm going to need you to sit down right there until we go check it out. So she had the police officers go out there, and they went out there, and sure enough, 2 kids tied up, and he was abusing them back there in his little shed. So she was completely right the whole time, but it was like, it's stories like that, man. I'm like, fuck, man, shit. And I guess child molesters is that whole arena of people that I do not understand. I just don't understand, right? Like, but it was just kind of like, I don't know if I told her I wouldn't be able to do that job, because I've been like, because she said she had to keep the officers, she had to tone him down. She's like, hey man, cool it down. Don't get aggressive here with this guy. Wait till we arrest him and do all that shit, because she's like, half the time these officers go in there and they'll just fucking beat the shit out of him. And I can understand why. Probably they got kids too, like, you know. It's just like weird shit.
I mean, I'm sorry, dude. I mean, I would let him loose. I would like beat the shit out of him, beat his ass, you know, cut his foot off, do what the fuck you need to. Because here's the thing, though, man, is like, you know, like you said, is the logic part of things. Like, we don't. A lot of things that we're supposed to use, our minds, man, are like amazing machines, man. They're like the supercomputer beyond supercomputer.
Absolutely.
But I think a lot of things mentally have been robbed from us when it comes to either critically thinking, you know, or you know, when we critically think or using cognitive thought as far as how we look at view situations like that. Like I said, if you if you're around somebody, man, and you know, it's funny because you think about it like this, man. If you, like you said, dogs pick up on nonverbal cues. I mean, we have the same ability to do the same thing. We can use our gut, we can use our instinct when it comes to people and stuff like that. But I think a lot of that, man, the divisiveness of our country is such to where it's robbed people of instinctually, like you said, connecting. Think about the instinct. Think about it like this, man. You know, you say to yourself, like, you know what, you want this utopic world to where everybody's kumbaya and everybody's, you know, loving on one another. But you think about our whole existence, we're robbed of love constantly. We have to manufacture and create love. Think about the manufacturing of love that exists at, you know, at the end of the day, you know, if I was drowning and someone didn't want to save me from drowning because I was black, or I didn't want to save somebody because, you know, say for instance, like that person was child molested and he was drowning, I'm like, shit, your ass need to drown. You know what I'm saying? You're like, goddamn, yeah, I'm gonna help you out here. But the thing is that, but at the end of the day, man, like everybody's gonna be different. Everybody's gonna have different skin colors, different accents, different heights, different weights. Everybody's gonna be different, man. And I think that once we embrace the difference in one another and accept the difference in one another and understand that there's a commonality amongst us all. Once again, we live on the same big blue marble, bro.
Yeah, that's right.
You know? I mean,
I think the only distinction I make here is that, and I don't mean to make exceptions. Well, I do mean to make exceptions. This is an exception that I have with when it comes to pedophiles and specifically pedophiles. I can't. It's like I just can't make it. I guess how do I put this? I can accept that they feel that way, that they're attracted to children, but I cannot accept that they can act on it because it infringes on the rights of those children to have a happy life, because it can. So I can accept that. Hey, man, if you fantasize about little kids, okay. I think it's kind of fucking fucked up, but mainly because any child that you fuck with is going to be is going to be screwed up for the rest of your life. Like you're
fucking with our future.
Yeah, it's like, so like I don't like anyone causing pain on anybody else or causing that kind of distress or pain on anybody else. I think it's wrong. I don't think it's our right to do that to each other. That's physical. That's direct. The emotional stuff is the stuff that I think is real catchy because, like you said before, like yes, we live in a world where we have these. I've said it before too, man. We got all these brittle spirits out here. They can't fucking take a joke. They can't take a little criticism, or everything offends them. People are just looking to be offended, and I find it to be especially the younger generation, like who's the 30, the 35 to the 18, 17-year-old generation right now seems to be the one who's the most sensitive to some of these things. And I understand why. You know, we've been giving out lots of participation awards for too many years. I get it. Like that's and I'm all for participation awards, but don't tell him he's a winner. Don't tell me he's the winner. You can tell him he's a winner.
No, man, fuck that. I don't like participation awards, man. It's like going to a whole bodybuilding show and you've been to bodybuilding shows before. If you don't get that first call out, man.
Dude, I got trophies up here. I got my trophies here for the fucking reason, man. I work for that shit.
Look, when you don't get first call out, man, you really want to walk off the stage after that. You like,
motherfucker. He's like, fuck this shit.
But you don't want to be a poor sport. You don't want to be. But the thing is that I was telling my ex-wife, man, I said, the crazy thing is, man, the confidence, especially like with children. So think about all the things, like you said, a pedophile takes, or somebody that does anything to kids. You rob this child of a lot of things, and you really fucking our future up because you're sending this person out in the world with this fucked up existence now. And that's and add the numbers up. This is countless numbers of kids that go out like this on a daily basis.
Yeah, man. Like I was so recently. And I don't know if you've heard about this stuff. I'm sure you have, but I don't know. I didn't think it was that big. I really didn't think this. But I didn't realize that in the world today, the sex trade and all this stuff is huge. It's absolutely massive, and it's just. I mean, it makes me sick to my stomach to think about it. To think that girls and women are being snatched up and taken somewhere, another country, another place, and forced to do stuff that they don't want to do, like sex stuff and stuff like that. Children and women. And I'm like, wow,
a lot of sick motherfuckers out here, man. It's a lot of sick motherfuckers out here.
It's just, I'm like, okay, so to me, like, to me, I think part of me says, like, there's certain offenses that we bring on ourselves. And there's certain offenses that others do to us. Those are the physical kind. Anything emotional that is not coupled with physicality. So like rape is physical. It's also emotional, but it's physical. This is not a part of that. This is just the emotional stuff. Somebody says, "Oh, you're a jerk." That emotional pain, man, that's up to you to be a fucking man and fucking know that shit is bullshit, and to be able to know who you are, so that you know. Like if somebody came to me and said, "Oh, your name's Bob," I'd be like, "Fuck you, my name's Tad." They're like, "No, you're Bob." No matter what they say, I'm gonna always know who I am. I'm gonna always go, "No, man, I'm not gonna have my feelings hurt. I'm not gonna be upset about it. I'm just gonna be like, that dude don't know what he's talking about." Like, you know, that's all I'm gonna think. He don't know what he's talking about because he don't know me. So if somebody comes up to me and says, even if they know me, they say, "You're a fucking prick," and they don't know me. You obviously got the wrong idea because that's not who I am.
You're a fucking prick. I'm like, you're a fucking prick.
So, well, my point is that I have to accept that message and try to make it my own. Try to say, well, what did I do to feel bad? I don't feel bad that somebody feels bad about. I don't feel bad that somebody hates me. Like, no, that you feel. They're the ones who have the bad feelings, not me. So, and I'm not going to share that with you. So that's why I tell people the only way you can truly hurt me is if I concede. I have to be involved in it. So like I've always laughed up. So I've had people make racist remarks around me. So like, because I grew up, looked very, very Asian. And I remember thinking this. I remember this one neighbor. He lived across the street from us. He was this hillbilly, kind of a like Harley driving, rednecky kind of dude. Totally stereotypical dude like this, right? Bandana, fucking beard, shit. You know, this is in the 70s and the early 80s. And his every day, man, my brother and I would be walking home from school, and we lived in a trailer park. His trailer was over here. Ours was across the street. Every time he'd be sitting on his porch, as soon as he saw us coming down the street, as soon as he knew we could hear him, he would yell out obscenities to us. Like, fucking, he thought we were Mexican. Of course, the joke was on him because fucking we were Mexican, but he would call us names like beaners, fucking, you know, bean bellies, and all these racist remarks, right? And I remember thinking in my head, who's he talking to? I'm like, I remember the first time, I was like, turning to my brother, is he fucking talking to us? I'm like, he's talking to us? Like, who the fuck is he talking to? And so, but my brother took it harder. It bothered him more. So he ended up going off into graduate school and writing about it. Now he's like an expert on racism and identity and stuff like that. That's what he actually does. But I remember the joke was on him though. Here's the funny thing. So he had a daughter. She was about our age. She liked us. So after school when he was working, she would invite us over to his place, and she was always trying to get her fucking clothes off. But all I was interested in was that this motherfucker had Coke, he had chips, he had cookies. Boy, I didn't have all that shit. We were poor, man. I'm like, so I ate up that dude's food, bro. I'm like, you got some more Cheez-Its? All right, let's get some Cheez-Its out here. So if I might have been a beaner in his eyes, but I ate your fucking Cheez-Its, bro. All right, well, okay, so we'll be off this topic. We've already been at this for an hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes. We usually talk about a PED of the day, of the week. So I want to talk about halotestin. It's a very misunderstood sort of compound. Halotestin is an oral steroidal compound that's purely androgenic. It has no anabolic properties. There's only two real functions for this particular drug, aside from its medical use, what it was designed for, which was anemia. But I would never use this for anemia. It's way too harsh of a drug. It's very, very hepatotoxic. So in other words, it's very toxic to the liver. And it's an oral, so it's doubly toxic. But it's used for, because it's only androgenic, it's used for hardening up the physique. If you're already lean, so that's why we use it 2 to 3 weeks before a show. We only use it for that. So that way we can harden up the physique to get the muscles look hard. And, some of its action it does because it increases hematocrit. So whenever blood volume goes up, muscles look harder. You get more vascular and look harder because you have more blood volume.
Right.
But also powerlifters love to use it. And I knew lots of powerlifters who used it during competition. They would take like 40 or 50 milligrams of the shit before their competition, because when you elevate your androgens like that, you feel that shit that day. So like, so their strength levels go up, their aggression goes up, and all this stuff. But because of its nature, you don't want to use it long, because of it's so androgenic, it will cause some androgenic side effects. And it's never a drug, just so that people know, it's never a drug that a woman should use. Never, unless you want fucking testicles and fucking facial hair and shit like that.
Ladies, you don't want that shit.
You know what? Some stuff grows on you that you can't ungrow. So as a matter of fact, I've seen. Well, they do actually have. So for women, if their energies are too high for too long, they'll get facial hair. They'll get thickening of the brow. They'll get what was that?
I said gross.
Gross, yeah, and they'll get clitoral enlargement, so their clit could get really big. It could literally look like a little penis. And I've seen some of this shit, and it's like, whoa! When you see that, when you're with a woman and you see that shit, you're like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
You don't know what to do with it. You don't know what you got to
like,
question.
Hey! Whoa! You feel that? No, but nowadays they have these. What's it called? It's like vaginoplasty, where they go in and the doctor can go in and they can actually remove some of the skin. But man, I'm like thinking to myself, okay, that solves the problem, because it will make it look normal again. But like, the clit, man? There's more nerves in that little piece of skin, man. Like that's one of your G spots, man. That's one of the good spots for a woman, to get it. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to cut any of that away. It's like, I actually feel like. When I was born, I was circumcised, like most boys in the 70s and stuff and beyond and before. If I had a son today, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't have circumcision. And here's the reason why: because I know, like, it definitely there's a higher level of sensation. You lose, because all the most powerful sensory nerves are right around that rim and right around the gland, and it's part of the skin that's cut away during circumcision. Wow. So you lose some of that. So guys, I don't know if you're circumcised, but I am. And definitely, and I used to joke, like, I used to joke with all my girlfriends, man, I'm not a 2-minute wonder, bro. I'm like, no, I'm a 2-hour bro. Like, I can go, if I concentrate, I can last a long time. And usually, man, if I use a condom, then fuck it, game's off, man. I'm like, and it's because of this lack, I think it's because this lack, it's always made my sexual experiences really great, because I'm not, like, really fast. But,
and women don't like going that, but the thing is, you say you're not a 2-minute guy, you go like 2 hours. Most women ain't really trying to go for no 2 hours, bro.
No,
I mean that just.
But I can get her done in 20.
You find a woman that wants to go 2 hours, man. You need to talk to her, man. You need to have a conversation after that. All over and done with.
In my experience, a woman who wants to go 2 hours wants to get a divorce. She's not asking that of her husband. She's asking that of her boyfriend. and she's looking for some kind of reprieve from the hell that she's going through, probably. And so that 2 hours is well spent for her. Okay, so we've used it before. You've used it, the Hal test before. You like it?
I mean, it's, at first, prior to using it, I had used it before, but at the end of the day, once you hit me to it, I understood what the principles and what it did for your body. I did see the results as far as the heart is concerned, because at the end of the day, man, some people fly blind when it comes to using shit like that. And most guys don't realize how fucking off they are when it comes to conditioning, because when they use shit like that and they don't see the hardening or the results from it, then they start to question. So I think that once you introduced it to me, man, I was like, dude, I didn't know what the fuck I was. I was like, I don't know what the fuck this shit is, man. I ain't never used it ever my whole fucking entire life.
Oh, shit.
But then I started noticing, I see the results. I did get it harder. I did see a little bit more graininess and things like that in my physique, man. But at the end of the day, I mean, shit, I leave all that science shit to your ass.
Now we're going to do my favorite segment, our final segment, which is the bullshit or bliss. I usually do this with Zach, but we're going to do it. So and remember, this is kind of on the fly. So pardon me if I take a couple seconds to organize my thoughts here. But I think I already hit you with this earlier, but I got it because it was such a good one I came up with. Curling in the squat rack.
That's bullshit, man. I mean, that's utterly bullshit. Any motherfucker first of all, you need to smack him in the back of the fucking head for fucking curling in the fucking squat. That's a fucking squat rack, dude. Why the fuck? Now, motherfuckers over there curling 405 in the squat rack. Hey, I'm gonna give. You can't be in there all fucking day. But if you got 210s on the side of the bar and you over there curling, I should kick you in your back.
Okay, well, I have to agree. Unless you're curling some big weight, but I've curled in the squat rack before. Man, don't kick me in the back. But I
would kick you in your back, dude. I would kick you in your back, dude. That's just the most annoying. But you know, here's the crazy thing, though. I don't do back squats anymore. So I kind of I don't go toward the squat rack anymore. So more power to you. If you want a bucket curl in there, I will enjoy you yourself. I see this shit all the time. I think it's hilarious because most of the time these motherfuckers don't even have any weight on the bar. It's just maybe a 10. So I would kick in your fucking back. Dude.
Well, I had more than 10. I had 45. On each side. Okay. Yeah,
You're good there, man. Back,
most of the time I did it was because I liked the feeling of that bar. I don't like the small bars. I want the bigger bars. And it's usually in the squat rack. And usually when I do it, there's fucking nobody there, man. Why doesn't anybody use squat racks anymore?
I don't know why nobody uses squat racks. I have no idea. Here's the thing about squat racks, though, dude, man. All the power lifters and shit. Well, first of all, you don't have a lot of power lifters you see in the fucking gym. A lot of guys ain't moving weight anymore.
No.
Nobody wants to lose. Nobody's picking shit up anymore, man. Look, you'll see 150-pound dumbbell sitting in the rack collecting fucking dust in most fucking gyms. That's just honest to God.
Man. Well, that leads me.
I pick them up. You said what?
I said that leads me to my next question, which is okay. So TRX.
Awesome.
Oh, you really?
That's
awesome.
not bullshit.
Okay.
I really do. And you know what? Because the perspective is different because I've utilized them. I understand they have a lot of. You can do a ton of shit. You can do a shitload of exercise on TRX straps. I think they work for the common guy, somebody who's really not trying to be bulky and big like a bodybuilder. For women, I just think I don't think they're bullshit. I think those are the shit.
All right. Mortal Kombat the movie.
I'm gonna watch that shit tonight.
That's what I'm gonna do, bro.
I'm gonna watch this shit. Dude,
I've been waiting for this shit, dude, for 2 months.
Okay, you know what, man? Did you go back and watch the first one?
No. Well, I watched it when it came out.
No. Go just before. I know it's today. It comes out. It's already out. Dude, go back and watch the first one.
Really?
You'll sit there and look at the screen like this. The fuck am I watching? Because think about it, man. When I saw the highlights, when I saw the previews or whatever for Mortal Kombat, the new one, this is how the shit should have been made when it first came out.
I don't think they had the technology.
They didn't have the technology. So younger people, please forgive, the 70s and the 80s and the early 90s where all the fucking special effects weren't that good. And you can remake any fucking movie, but this shit right here, dude, I asked my daughter, I said, if you're still awake, you gonna watch Mortal Kombat with your dad? She was like, do you want me to watch with you? I said, hell yeah.
Yeah.
It's violent, but hell yeah.
I'm priming myself up in an hour. It's gonna be game on. I'm watching that shit.
Dude, I can't wait, man. I would do my eyes like this just to stay awake just to watch the shit, man. I'm not even lying, dude, for real.
Well, last question, and it's another movie question because I didn't get to ask you this. I asked Zach this, but I already knew the answer for him. But what is it? I think what's his name? The Snyder version of the Justice League.
Oh, Zach, that was the shit. 4 hours and 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Hey, man. Dude, I told you what happened, man. That fucking pre-workout you suggested, dude. I took that shit a little bit later in the day. Yeah. I watched the whole fucking 4 hours.
It took me four attempts to watch that movie to its end.
I watched that motherfucker for 4 hours. I sat there and you know how it's so late at night, you try to close your eyes to try to go to sleep.
Don't worry.
Your eyes are like, no, motherfucker, I'm up. And I sat there and watched the whole. I thought the 4 hour version was awesome. The Justice League, the first one, it wasn't good.
I thought the storytelling was better in the second one.
Yes.
There's better. The flow of the movie was easy to understand with the first one, but it did have a lot of holes. And I think that's the reason why they wanted to remake this again and have Schneider do it. And he did a good. I thought he did a good job. I actually kind of liked the way he did it.
Steppenwolf didn't look good in the second one though.
I liked him better in the first. I liked him in the first. I liked the way. I liked the dialogue, and I liked his attitude. I liked how they presented him in the first one.
Because he had a face. He had like a whole face.
This was, I don't know what the
his mouth moved and he was talking. He was like a whole character.
And he seemed like the main bad guy in the Schneider version. He's not.
No, he's not. No,
he's not.
He didn't seem like the main.
Yeah, they jacked his character down a little bit. So, but it wasn't bad.
4 Hours dude was like, I'm not a DC comic guy. The fucked up thing, I'm not a DC comic guy. Think about it, man. Superman's the baddest person in the DC universe. He's a whole alien dude that can do anything. He's stronger than everybody. He's faster than everybody. Dude, come on, man. Superman's the shit. So what other superheroes in the fucking DC universe are the shit? You better not say Batman, man.
Nah, he's no. Batman.
He's a whole human being, dude. He has no.
To me, Batman is one of the most compelling superheroes in the DC world because he's human.
Because he has mental illness.
Because he's like I could be that dude. I could kind of be that dude if I decided to go out and fight crime and shit.
Do with all these fucking billionaires floating around America and the world right now, ain't none of these motherfuckers put on a Batman suit.
No, it's because it ended up looking like fucking Kick-Ass. That's what it ended up looking like. Did you ever see the movie Kick-Ass?
Yeah, because Kick-Ass was a good ass movie.
In the beginning scene of the first one, man, he's talking and you can hear his dialogue. He's talking about why doesn't anybody else be a superhero? And that dude jumps up that building, tries to fly, bam, gets killed. Right. That's why. But hey, man, I might pay a little money to see Jeff Bezos jump up the top of the Empire State Building and smash himself right into a car. Sure, I might pay some money.
I would pay for that shit. I would actually physically pay for that. That should be a pay-per-view like event right there. Like,
just as long as he's got it.
Jump off the fucking Empire State Building. That would be awesome.
Hey, I'm telling you, this shit could really get real pretty soon because I just saw a video of a test suit for, it was like a flight suit where he had there's a jetpack and jetpacks on arms, and it was like fucking Iron Man, dude. He was flying around and shit, and you could control it and fly around, and it was real. And I'm like, ooh, that looks really cool. Now it's still a little bulky, but hey, man, he's flying with a suit.
Dude, hey man, honestly though, how serious would we take somebody running around with a fucking outfit on, man? We would probably first of all he'd get laughed at.
Yeah.
If you ever came to the hood, he'd probably get dogged. He'd probably get joked on like the whole time. The fuck you got on, man?
Like, I see a fart skid in your tights.
Right? Are you got tights on, dude? I mean, he would get roasted if he went anywhere. But look, now if you really want to be a superhero, if you really want to be if I had a superpower, man, I would feed the hungry.
There you go.
You know what I mean? Not real talk. Think about it, man. That's like that's a superhero.
You talk about impacting people's lives.
Once again, yeah, shooting lasers out your eyes and shit like that. That's not going to, what's that going to do, man? Like, you actually feed people and actually, give people working water and, clean up the ocean.
I mean, that's real, like man. That's absolutely.
That's why Aquaman should get more credit, man. He's all in the water dealing with the whole bunch.
Actually, when you think about it, even just like Rob Snyder's version and even the original version of the Justice League, when you look at and then some of the other ones, when you look at the Aquaman character, what is he doing before he becomes part of the Justice League? He's helping that little town out. Remember, he saves people. But he does it for his own reasons.
He's doing like whole human shit, man.
Yeah.
He's like a real person. What the fuck's Batman doing, man? Just walking around with billions of dollars, man. I'm confused. What's your superpower, bro?
I just like that. He asked that question, what's your superpower? I'm rich. He said, I'm rich.
Look, dude, you catch Batman out of his outfit, man. You can beat his ass all day long, man.
Well, the interesting thing about Batman is this, though. So Batman is one of those, for me, he's one of those interesting characters because he's got a completely well-developed psychology. So we know exactly why he's this fucking crazy vigilante, his own brand of justice kind of guy, right? You know this exactly. You know why. Because his parents got killed in front of him by some murderer, by some criminal, so he dedicates the rest of his life to getting even, so to speak, or righting this wrong, which you could never right, and he knows it. And he knows his flaws, and yet he's still trapped by them. So that makes him a really interesting character. Makes him very relatable.
Okay, then I digress there. Batman is the baddest superhero. Because think about it, he's a whole fucking billionaire. So he can actually create more change and save more lives than Superman possibly could.
I've always wondered this about the characters, that why doesn't, so every time especially in like the DC world, something bad happens, aliens come, try to take the planet, whatever, where's the half of the movie Superman wasn't even around because he was dead, right? They had to bring him back to life. So but he's never around except for in the Superman movies, which really only constitutes a very small percentage of all. This is the way my mind works. It probably constitutes just a small portion of all the crime that's going on in the world. Like how come he's not fighting more crime? Like, what the fuck, man? Why aren't you out there?
Superman got a whole girlfriend, dude. He got
a job too, man. He's the only superhero. He got a job.
He's working a whole new space. He got bills and shit, man.
He takes care. He sends money back home to his mom. He's got real world problems.
He got all kind of shit going. Superman is a complex dude. Man. He's like trying to be human. He's trying to be human. So he's doing all human stuff. That's why he's never fighting and stuff, because he's over here with baby mama drama. He got a job. He got bills and more. He got his mom's house. Her mom's house about to get took. He is like Superman's dealing with like real world shit, man. He ain't trying to be no superhero. He got real life shit to do.
Then you got Batman over here, who's got a hard on for Wonder Woman, and he's got billions and billions of dollars a day, he was, by the way, my first favorite superhero when I was a kid was, I don't know if you call him a superhero, but it was Popeye, because I used to watch the Popeye cartoons.
Man, he had a deformity, bro.
I know, because I like the fact that he could eat the spinach and he could just whoop ass. He got I was 4, okay? Around that time I started watching the reruns of the old Batman series and Batman and Robin, like bam, pow, with all those. And I fell in love with this shit. So Batman became my first real superhero that I really loved. And then after that, of course, who doesn't like Superman? Like you said, like he's fucking perfect. So, but I just never understood why didn't Earth capitalize on his powers more?
I would have, man.
I would have been, if I was a president. If I was a president or some world leader, I'd been, hey man, can we strike a deal here, bro? Like I'm
texting and calling him every like 2 or 3 minutes, man. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm like, Superman, where the hell are you at, bro?
Hey man, those people, that motherfucker in Korea, he's fucking got some nukes, man. We need you to go over there, bro. We need to give you some supervision.
Like, hey man, my man's talking shit again. Yeah, you heard it. You saw it. He tweeted that shit. You see it?
Can you just go and give him a bitch slap real quick?
Smack him in the mouth real quick. Hey man, look, check this out. Like the Flash, Wonder Woman's an old chick. She's old.
Yeah.
She's like a whole cougar, dude. Like for real. She's like a whole cougar. She's like 5,000 years old.
She's like the king of the queen of the cougars.
I mean, think about it. What would you do? What would you do with Wonder Woman? You couldn't do shit with her.
Well, I couldn't. I don't think I could impress her.
Nah, bro, what you gonna do for her? Your 2 hours, man? Nah, you wouldn't be able to do shit for her. She'd be like, "Are you done? What are you doing?"
Dude, did you see? So I love Wonder Woman. She's one of my favorite superheroes. I love her. I think she's sexy. I especially love Gal Gadot. Her performance is Wonder Woman. You don't like the old one? You don't like the old one? When she went in the 70s, when I watched it, I had a crush on Linda Carter like nobody's business. I thought she was sexy. I thought she was. And then, did you see the ending of where they gave her a little cameo piece?
Yeah.
So like they're gonna bring her back as that other superhero person in their culture. I don't forget the name of but she's come back in the next Wonder Woman. So I like that because you saw the 1984 Wonder Woman 1984.
That was horrible.
You didn't like it?
Oh no, dude!
I liked it.
They made it like it was 1984. They made it like it was 1984. I was like, no,
they got it. They had to do that. They had to do this in this sequence.
Hey man, the 80s was a fucked up piece of shit.
I love the 80s. I take the risk. I like the music, and I loved my childhood.
Okay, I did too. I will have to agree with that. But some of the clothes and shit we wore back then.
Yeah, I don't want parachute pants no more.
You don't like the clothes?
I'm not into parachute pants anymore. I'm not going to wear that. I'm not going to do. I used to wear the pastels. I still like pastels, but I don't have them anymore. But some of the clothes, yeah. Like you remember those fucking Don Johnson jackets and shit, the white ones and shit. Remember those?
Hell yeah.
Fuck, I had one of those motherfucking. They fucking roll it with a fucking t-shirt on underneath. And you put the with the penny loafers with no socks.
Yeah.
And after a year, you put a penny.
Put a whole shiny penny.
And yeah, and you got to use that foot. You got to use that shoe stuff because if you just do that without no socks, after a while, man, that shoes start stinking, man. I'm telling you, I'm like that. I said, man, I got to wear socks, man. This shit. I don't like to wear the sticky shoes.
Yeah. The Wonder Woman 1984, man. Dude had a fucked up superpower, dude. He was granting wishes. But I mean, that's a fucked up superpower, dude. Like, why would you? I wouldn't even want that. Like, I'm gonna grant you a wish, then I'm gonna take whatever. I'm gonna take your powers. I'm gonna take. Remember, he was taking people's powers, or taking. I was like, nah, dude, that's not even. That was a weak superpower, dude. I wouldn't want to wish superpower.
It was some kind of item or something like they had that had this magic in it, and he made the wish that he would be that thing to be able to grant these wishes.
Okay, so you telling me you had to choose superpower, you would take a wish superpower?
No, no, absolutely. Me, that's a good question. What superpower would you take? If you could just pick one power.
I want the powers of Professor Xavier.
Oh, like the powers of mind control and telepathy.
Hell yes. I'd be like, I would have people doing all kind of shit.
I think I'd want the superpower, the same power that the Hulk has.
Oh damn! You trying to tear shit up?
No, that motherfucker, you can't kill him. He has this adrenaline rush. So I just happen to have all these Marvel universes that describe all the characters and all their. I got years. I still collect all that shit. So he could lift 100. I can tell you his stats too, man. He could lift 100 tons over his head when he's in his full rage. He could lift over 100 tons over his head. Can you imagine having that? How much you lift? 100 tons over my head. What?
But so you like him because of his brute strength?
No, it's because of the whole spectrum. He's got strength, and he's got endurance, so he doesn't need to breathe. I don't know if you know this. He doesn't actually. That's why he can go into space. He literally can go into space. He can literally leap. He doesn't fly. In the comic books, you think he flies, but he actually leaps. He jumps, and he can jump distances of over a couple of miles at a time. So he could jump. This is how far he can jump. So so he doesn't need to breathe. So when he can go into space, he doesn't need to eat because his cells naturally replenish themselves. He's got super healing abilities. And his skin is so tough that it can withstand a nuclear blast. So yes, that's the power that I want. So he could be in the middle of a nuclear explosion and he'd be all right.
Dude, so if I was Professor Xavier, I can control you.
Yes.
I will win every single time.
I'm not talking about I want to fight you, man. I'm talking about you asked me what power I would have. How many Professor Xaviers would I fucking encounter in my life?
You would be my whole security force.
There you go. See, that would be it. Like that would be it. Like you could be the mastermind, and I'd be the security. Wheel you around. Can you see that shit? And the Hulk wheeling around Professor X. Professor X is like, what did you hear? What that motherfucker said about me? Go do that shit.
Smash that shit up, bro. I would have to smash.
Actually, Professor Xavier has a really cool power. He can, so he has a sonic blast. It's like this, so he can emit these psionic waves from his brain. And if you're in a particular vicinity, I don't know what the ranges are, but he could literally like melt your mind, like kill you. It kills people. Like
that's what I'm saying. I want his power.
Yeah,
that means I'm the baddest.
So in the Marvel universe, they said that Professor Xavier and Magneto are the two most powerful mutants in the entire Marvel universe.
But here's the thing, though. I'm gonna have to. I gotta challenge that, man. What about Raven, man?
So Raven. She's pretty powerful, but Magneto is actually technically they usually call him the most powerful because he can literally his control over magnetic forces can literally shift the Earth off of its axis. So he has that much control over Magneto.
He can control the whole plate. Oh my God.
Whole magnetic force in the planet of our Earth. He can literally affect the spin of the Earth with his, but he doesn't. But he could if he wanted to. That's how powerful his power is. But
because the Phoenix is, I mean, she's pretty powerful though, man. But her shit's uncontrollable though.
Yes, but her natural powers aren't. Her natural powers are controlled. But when she became the Phoenix, that's not a mutant. I'm only talking about mutants. So like there are other creatures in the universe more powerful. Like Galactus is more powerful. There's all these. There's several other entities that are more powerful. The Phoenix, absolutely more powerful. In her Phoenix form, she's fucking Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel. She's fucking really powerful. Really, probably more.
But you talking about Captain Marvel?
Yeah, Captain Marvel. She's actually more powerful than.
That was a whole dude in the comic book. That was a whole guy.
It's a girl.
In the comic books, I thought it was a whole female. I thought it was a whole guy. I thought Captain Marvel was a guy.
No, Captain Marvel was a woman. She was actually a Miss Marvel, Maven Marvel. She was a
aren't they from like a whole other planet though?
She is. Yeah, she's an alien. That's why she's not a mutant. She's an alien. She's not a mutant. She's an alien. So that's why she gets those powers. Yeah, so she's a little different. And then when she comes to Earth, I mean, they have all of her race has most of these powers. She's not unique in that. But Phoenix is interesting because she got hit with that solar blast or whatever it was, and her body absorbed it, and so because of her mutation, it altered her mutation, and so now she has these other powers, and it's not controllable. So that's why it's.
I wouldn't want that much power though. I wouldn't want that much power though.
No.
I wouldn't want to be all powerful. I would because one day you wake up on the wrong side of the bed and just like snap your finger. Fuck shit up.
What would be funny is superheroes with weird powers, like powers that you don't think are powers, like a superhero that has the power to make you question shit. Like, hey man, what do you want to eat? Hi, hamburger. Do you really? I don't know. Do I really?
Yeah, that's fucked up.
Make people question everything. You just walk around and they start questioning shit. Hey man, are you straight or are you gay? I'm straight, man. Are you sure? I don't know. Am I?
Oh my god, that would be such a fucked up superpower, though. Because you would have people just walking around like,
what the fuck? Did you keep my change? Did you keep my change? I don't think you gave my change. Did I give you? Oh, I don't think I gave you a change.
Did I give you a change?
I don't know.
Sure?
Did you give me my change?
Nah, that's fucked up, dude.
Or like just other weird shit like everywhere you go you can make people smell farts.
Bro, what?
Farts. You can make them think they smell farts. You can just see this action about ready to happen. Everybody's like, did you do that? What the fuck? What the fuck?
Hey, dude, that would be so cruel.
That's like,
think about it. You could like say if you could throw farts to people. Like you can just look at
I'm fart man.
And shake your head or something and just throw a fart at them. Like, did the president just fart on TV? What the
heck? Those would be more fun superheroes to watch. Oh look, here goes Fart Man. Watch this.
Here comes the shit man. He'll make you shit.
He'll give you the diarrhea. Watch out for Vomit Man. He makes everybody sick around him.
Oh, that's so fucked up, man. That'd be fucked up.
That'd be a funny movie, wouldn't it? That'd be a funny movie. Like make a movie super about fucked up superheroes. The superheroes you don't ever hear about because they got fucked up superpowers and they don't want they try to Fart Man, Vomit Man. That would be fucked up. Walking around people and you make people want to throw up.
Like, hey, how you doing today?
Man.
You be like, hey, how you doing today?
Hey.
Oh, about to throw up? Or like, look. You make people like if you're the shit guy and you walk around, you just do like this, and make just like so like you gonna talk shit to me today? Would you say something?
Every superhero has a little line that they always say, and his is, "Did you shit yourself?" Or I'm gonna zap him with a little shit ray. Poof! Now, did you shit yourself?
You shit today? Did you shit today? Are you regular?
Are you regular? You're just a regular guy, right? Well, you are today. Whap! You're waiting in line at Disneyland, and you want to get this line moving. Give everybody the shits in front of you. Like, whoa, shit!
Like, oh my god!
And then
I don't know what's going on. It must be the food. It must be the food. I'm just gonna step around everybody. Don't worry about it.
Then you gotta yell out. They're closing the bathrooms.
Somebody talk shit. Somebody like you date somebody. You gotta. She talk shit to you or something like that. You be like, you know what? Fuck you. You just make me shit. Yes.
Get the fuck out of here and clean yourself up. All right, Darrick, man. I can sit here for another couple hours and laugh with you, man. This is it. We'll do this again next week. All right.
Yes, sir, man.
Right. Well, thank you for everybody tuning in. We'll have another episode next week. I think I'm gonna call this episode 6. This is the 6th one. I can't remember. Anyways, we'll call it 6. 6. And so, tell everybody if people are interested. Tell everybody where they can find your Kick Your Ass stuff.
You can go to kickyourmass.com. You can also follow me on Instagram at Darrick Valentine. You can follow Kick Your Mass on at Kick Your Mass on Instagram as well as Facebook. So look me up.
All right, and then we'll be talking again next week. We'll do this again next Friday. Sure. All right. Well, so long, everybody. Thank you.